So, happy Monday. Uh, when last we left off, as you all know, um, you all had, specifically Mouse and Drata had encountered Diana Marwood, the Brassbeers, and the leftovers of Wayne's thugs who were mobbing outside of Jerome and Cassandra's house. Drata and Mouse scared them away, perhaps making an enemy out of the locals in the process, perhaps. Who knows? And the party hatched a plan to hire Nal, your purple dragonborn friend, to escort your new friends to Dusklight by route of Avindir's airship in Consonance. Over the week of downtime, you guys played pretty low, did a variety of things, and were eventually notified by the Unifiers that you were allowed to leave, as the Thieves' Ward Guild had finally been confirmed as over. And after a week of uneventful travel, you arrived in Horizon for, which is the host city of the long-anticipated Tournament of Tales. You are 2 days early, or let me confirm sort of that exactly. Yeah, it is the 68th, and the opening ceremonies are on the 70th, which you know to not be the actual first day of competition. So that the competition would begin the day after. But nevertheless, you guys have arrived. I mentioned last time that you sort of came into sort of the hustle and bustle of a pre-event city that many people, traders, workers, you haven't really like talked to people to understand why they're here yet, but it's sort of there's an understanding that things are afoot in this town. There's an energy in the air that is like refreshing, especially compared to Mistral. And there's just sort of like an excitement of something that is coming. Technically, none of you can see a bird's eye of the city, but I'm going to share the map with you anyway.
Ooh, exciting.
So
I'm through clean lines.
I know, yeah, I've been changing my mapping so that way it like aligned with the grid better. So you don't really quite know where anything is, but you did sort of enter in through this sort of northern road in town. And it's about midday as you sort of engage with knowing what you need to get done, knowing who you need to meet with. But what would you like to do in the immediate future?
Should we contact Avindir, let him know we got here?
Or should we just ask around and see if we can find the rising melody? For a beat
yes,
thing.
that is true.
You could do that. If somebody would like to perhaps lead in an investigation check to navigate the city and try to get directions.
I think I'm more focused on the people, like not really interacting with the people yet, but more like keeping perspective on like who's around and who's walking through the streets. Just constantly seeing if I recognize anyone. I'm just kind of a nervous wreck right now.
Okay,
I can ask around for some directions. And
I was gonna say I'm happy to approach a stranger.
I'm just gonna stay back.
Well, Flint and or Mouse, if you want to roll investigation to kind of navigate the city, but then Aesop, if you want to just sort of perception or insight check, depending on sort of like how you want to flavor your people watching skills, then you may feel free to do that as well.
I'll do insight.
Can I give Flint advantage?
Sure.
Cool.
And then for insight, I'm just gonna see. I'm gonna try to gauge like who is actually here for the tournament and who actually lives here, kind of get insight on their character.
Sure. Okay.
Great rules.
Yeah, so far so good. I'll go ahead and start with Aesop. Flint, you feel like you're making good progress, but we'll get to that in a second. There's definitely, as you're sort of looking at people, there's, for the most part, you're gauging that this is sort of the sound and bustle of a city that is awakening to the opportunity of commerce coming in. So it's not so much that, because I think I described at the end of last game that you saw, like, you would see like hundreds of people walking around. It's not that you're not necessarily getting an impression from that there's going to be hundreds of people necessarily performing or like a stadium full of thousands of people or anything like that. What you're getting is that that this is sort of an opportunity for people to open up shop and sort of open up things that may not normally need to be open. Sort of like people are setting up like various tents and this and that.
They're decorating a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. And you do get the sense as well that there are a number of like other sort of wagons that are coming in, and you get the sense that like other people who are perhaps showing up to attend the tournament in one way or the other, that they're sort of bringing assistance or bringing sort of like servants of sorts. The people who are coming, you see a couple like somewhat decorated or like almost regal looking wagons, nothing that like really super stands out, nothing garish, but
higher tax bracket.
Yeah. And so you're getting the impression that it's like this event isn't just for the people who are attending, that there's sort of like the need for the city to rise up to attend to the workers as well. So that's sort of the air you're getting. So you don't really know what the scale is of sort of who's actually watching the tournament yet, but you just know that the whole city is prepared to receive,
right,
more than just the attendees.
Right.
Flint, how are, with your 20, how are you sort of going about your investigation?
I mean, I guess I'm just, since I really don't know anything other than the name of the bar, kind of just asking around, looking for, if there's shopkeepers or street food merchants or something. Someone who looks like they're from here and knows the city, and asking around for how to get there.
Okay. From your position currently on the map, I sort of described that that there was like this big sort of like cloud monument here, which is what this sort of first dot is. Just to give you and like up here, you sort of passed like a stable, which a lot of people were parking at. And you sort of observe that a lot of people are going from the stable to this building. And as you sort of like, kind of like see that there's a hub of activity kind of there, you notice that it seems to be like the mayor's office or sort of the equivalent of like a town hall. And then sort of like, it seems like there's like a check-in process, not for the tournament per se, but for people of import who are just sort of like making themselves known in the town. And you sort of overhear, you don't even really have to ask, but you overhear that as people are trying to gauge where they need to go in the city to attend the opening ceremonies, that they are sort of heading in a southward direction. And when you listen in, you were functionally given directions down here, just to cut to the chase. So you feel pretty confident that you can make your way there without much difficulty.
Probably head that way, but keep our eyes open for anything fun and exciting.
Sure.
Are we important enough to check in? Should we like make an appearance at the mayor's office?
Maybe I should. Does someone want to come with me? I don't know. Does someone want to come with me?
I mean, sure, sure, yeah. I'm sure I'll be really helpful, but yeah, sure.
I just need that like friend support. I don't know what kind of questions they're gonna ask, so.
I'll go with you guys too.
All right.
I mean, should we all go? I mean, we're the left stars. We're a pretty big deal now.
Clint's probably not wrong.
Yeah, we don't have the right stars or the center stars, but like we have like roughly 1/3 of the stars, and that's still a significant number, and people should know that.
A
So
lot. It's a big number.
We basically saved Mistral. Like,
it deserves saving. Another question.
Wow, I'm impressed by everybody's like confidence today.
It's not here, but thank you. I'll start sluggishly making my way to the mayor's office.
Okay. It's not that there's like a giant line forming. What you're sort of observing is that there are a variety of individuals sort of with entourages that have sort of parked their caravans and are sort of walking from the stables to here. There is an individual who sort of like has sort of like a teal cape and sort of like a variety of sort of servants or workers that are tending to them, mostly human, that are sort of in front of you as you're sort of approaching. The individual sort of at the center of this group is a human male with blonde hair, green eyes, and they're sort of like talking a lot with their hands. And they sort of stop at what is sort of a reception desk, and they're just sort of like, I demand to know where to go. Where is my lodging? Where are we to be staying? And there's the person at the desk is like, calm down, sir. What is your name? And he's like, I am Benedict Darkdraft, Lord of the Pond. Of course, you should know who I am. And then the person behind the counter, who is sort of like meek by comparison, it is a Hilldorf woman who's like on a little platform behind a table, and she's just like, oh, one moment, please. And the conversation is sort of like loud enough that you're just sort of like able to hear it quite easily. But at this point, you're probably a good 5-10 feet back. Is there anything you're doing, or are you just listening in?
You
guys heard of Lord of the Pond?
Could I make a history check if
Sure.
he's from someone from the capital?
Yeah.
Probably not. Nope.
Nope. Yep.
Highly doubt it. Yep. Probably unimportant.
I mean,
Aesop,
it's a pond.
are you a lord?
Who are you talking? Me?
You.
I don't think so.
If we just call you a lord, does that make you a lord? Is there like
That
an
would-
official process?
That would make me very uncomfortable if you did.
Great
I
lord.
used to work for a lord.
You did, Mouse?
I did.
And were they nice?
He's decent.
Look, decent.
Back where you're from, they had lords.
No, in Vin, there was the Lord.
yeah.
There were two lords.
Brownmore.
One of them was Lord Brownmore, and the other one was somebody's
Not.
family. We didn't like the other family. But no, Brownmore was a good guy. I'm not really clear on how he became a lord.
A lot
I
of
think
Probably
lord
just-
just means
is
you have a lot of
unclear.
money.
That's probably very true.
You guys are like having this conversation as the conversation sort of continues to unfold in front of you, and then the woman behind the desk says, of course, Lord Darkdraft," and she pulls out an envelope and slides it over and says, "You and your company are set up at the Sanctum Lavender for the next week. It's down," and she sort of gives directions. It sounds like it's actually close to the Rising Melody. The impression you get is that this individual has gotten the hotel across the street, so that they can like lessen their commute in the mornings. So we've all been to some convention or another, you understand. And then he sort of he sort of like snaps his fingers, and like one of his attendants like snatches it up, and he sort of like huffs his coat in sort of a flashy motion and just like stampedes away with his people.
On his way out, does he have to pass closely to us? Or is it a big hall where
Yeah, I mean it's not a squeeze, but
Okay.
he will be like parallel to you, like a few feet away.
enough that a kind, friendly little shoulder check would be too obvious?
If you wanted to.
Super kind.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's not like you guys are standing front to back. You guys could be taking up the entire hallway, potentially.
Yeah, I might just, turn to Flint and start engaging in kind of a fake conversation, just kind of, as they're coming by, just happen to maybe swing my left foot out as I turn and maybe try to catch him. Maybe I do, maybe I don't, because I'm not looking at him. I'm not. Just try and see if, because he's picking on people for no reason, and there's no need for any of that.
Yeah. Do you want to make... You can simply roll as if it's like... Go ahead and roll an unarmed attack. Is that a button for you? Yeah.
Yes, it
Unarmed
should
strike.
be.
I know you're not trying to do damage, but I'm just for the
Nope,
sake
that's fine.
of like
Yeah, however you
being
want me to do it.
successful.
1 second. I know it's in here.
It should just be under inventory.
Oh, yep, right there. Sorry. I might have to reload my page. Some of the things. Oh, yeah. I think I might make that happen.
The individual, so you describe, he is pretty frail, so you describe how far you want to go with this.
It's really just incidental contact where my big beefy leg happens to get tangled up with his frail little legs, and he just happens to go on the ground.
Okay. He sort of falls and like catches himself on his elbows and sort of like starts wincing in pain, as like the sort of pain when your elbows would hit like concrete,
Mhm.
Oh my goodness! Are you all right over there? And I
you are
Good.
you're suddenly his attendants, there's like 4 of them, position themselves between the 2 of you, and one of them sort of like picks him up.
okay.
Go ahead. No, you go
Nope.
ahead.
Are you okay? I am so sorry about that. I'm a big
Watch
clumsy guy.
where you're going.
Oh, I will do my best, but you might want to watch where you're stepping.
Yeah, truly, we're so sorry. What was it?
He like holds up a finger to draw to and says, "What is your name?" Looking at Clax.
Saxostis.
He
And your name?
well, Benedict Darkdraft, of course.
All right, Benny. Here's the deal. We can just kind of let this slide. My feet got in your way. I apologize for that, but I think you need to learn to calm down a little bit.
I am so embarrassed. Standing just kind of awkwardly away.
And I'm going to stand as tall as my 6'7" frame will let me be. And I'm going to look as imposing as I can.
Andrada squeaks out another like, I think that'd be smart, Benny Puddle.
Go ahead and roll an intimidation check. Sorry, Clax.
Sorry, I'm not seeing my mouse. Give me 1 second. Oh, there it is. Ooh, I think I might do decent on these. All right, 17.
Okay. He doesn't squirm. You get the impression that you're talking to a figure who, and this is obvious to you, but it's sort of a figure who speaks highly of themselves. And even if you are able to impose yourself in this conversation, the most successful you can be is to get them to stomp off and grumble. You're not actually scaring him, but he just sort of gives you like a humph, and then like eyes your team, and then walks away.
I was turned away, so hopefully he did not see me. Just a big Minotaur boy just standing in the bathroom.
Let's turn back then. Man, my clumsy feet. Definitely my mother never wanted me to be a dancer, that's for sure.
You really
just-
get him every time.
Yep. And just big smile. Just
For the sake of it, Aesop, could you roll like a stealth check to sort of
Mhm.
disassociate yourself with the group?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To have disassociated yourself, we'll say. Okay, yeah. You were just like like Clax and crew were in line behind you.
Right.
For all intents and purposes, you were not part of that.
Great.
And that sort of vibe rubs off on the dwarven woman at the desk as well, who's just sort of like face palming at the situation, and she says, "Next," and she sort of like indicates to Aesop, "May I help you?"
Oh, yeah. Hi. Here for the tournament tales. Name's Aesop Tyrn.
One moment, and she sort of like is like recollecting herself after the drama of a minute ago. I'm afraid I don't have anything for you. Were you sent to pick something up?
No, I was sponsored by Avindir.
Oh, you work for Avindir?
No, he sponsored me for the tournament of tales.
I mean, we do work for Avindir, but not.
Sorry, are you a participant?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. People who come to the office are people who tend to have a diplomatic relation with the city.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh. I just look
no.
at Clax and I'm like, oh, lovely. Yes.
No, I mean, if you're, of course, well, welcome to Horizon. I don't have anything to give you, but certainly, if you meet up with your sponsor, they should be able to help get you oriented. But if there's anything I can help you with, or if you have any questions about Horizon, then I'm happy to answer them.
Oh, just where the rising melody is, just general directions so we can make our way over there.
Okay. She directs you sort of in the same direction that Flint had sort of overheard earlier. So you don't. She's very polite about it. She just sort of, in fact, I'll say for the sake of it that she actually gives you sort of like a printed copy of this map, not printed, but a sort of rough version of this map that she sort of is handing out as like pamphlets to people, and she will sort of like circle the region that it's in.
I'll like kind of leave the pamphlet out in my hand. I'm like, do you have a favorite spot in the city that you recommend like new travelers and tourists to go to?
Well, we do have a very nice bakery. And she circles it on the map, and sort of writes down in all capital letters the word bread.
Bread, it's a bakery called Bread?
Yes. It's the Bureau of Ready-to-Eat Affordable Dough.
Wow.
Love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Now they have it's an amazing place to go for breakfast. But there's a variety of other places. I'll show you. I'll try to reveal some of these icons that I have on my map to you
Mhm.
here in the next few minutes. But she indicates. I'm just going to ping some things for now.
Okay.
That sort of she indicates the 4 monuments, sort of earth, fire, water, and air monuments. There are a couple of shops that she outlines. There's the Mellow Gnome, that is sort of like a knickknack and souvenir store. There's the Raven's Feathers, that is a like fancy clothing and jewelry store. Evens and Starts, which is just a general store. There is a library. Oops, sorry,
Yes.
clicking the wrong thing. The Exalted Tome. And then she says, if you're looking for lodging, if you haven't really booked anything already, the sort of like largest, most moderate place is called the Canopy, which is over here next to Bread. So I'll try to reveal some of these icons so that they show up on your map. But she's just sort of like pointing to things and sort of giving you a lay of the land.
What was the fancy clothes store?
The Raven's Feathers.
Well, that was a lot of great, wonderful information. We're excited to explore your guys' city. Hopefully you haven't had, and I kind of like look back at the guy. Hopefully you haven't had too much trouble with guests.
Give me an insight check. She says, "Oh, no trouble at all."
Retail,
Yeah.
tourist industry. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, she also, sorry, I forgot to point out, she points out the Horizon Theater. And she indicates that this is also where some of the events will be taking place.
Well, you have a marvelous day, and I look forward to seeing you at the tournament, possibly. What was your name?
Theresa.
Theresa. It was lovely to meet you.
One last question, Theresa. Is the theater an indoor or an outdoor facility?
It is open air and outdoor. Sometimes we put a tent up when we have to.
Thank you.
Yep, she nods respectfully, and you guys are not led out, but sort of make your way out.
Well, there's a lot to explore for sure in the city.
Most importantly,
Doing
there's
well.
bread.
There's bread. Yes.
Is that how you feeling?
I just hope that a lot of the people we encounter aren't like the guy that was in front of us, Benny.
And
Can
if
we
they
talk-
are, you'll show them up.
Absolutely, but can we talk about Benny Puddles?
Benny Puddles.
That was embarrassing, truly.
That was awesome.
We should maybe not. We should maybe try to avoid making a name for ourselves and let Aesop be the star for a couple of days. At least until the tournament's over.
I think he deserved it, for one.
Oh, he for sure deserved it. I just don't want to make a bad first impression before you've had your shot.
That's so fair and valid. And also, Benny Puddles.
Great name.
I do apologize then. Just when I
It's
see
okay.
someone of a higher stature think that they're better than anybody else and try to impose their will on people, it just tends to get a little under my skin or my scales.
Right there with you.
I mean, if we really wanted to, I could write Benny Puddles is gonna lose or something in the sky.
I don't think
Oh,
he's
yeah.
competing.
Yeah, based on what she said, I feel like it's more of a diplomatic viewing, I guess.
I was
To
gonna
bring
say
other
lose his
cultures
teeth,
together.
but I don't know that I have that many letters.
I mean, you could maybe it would still be too many letters, but like Benny Puddles is gonna be Benny Pothole. I don't. What's like smaller than a puddle?
Let's save those for after the tournament.
Hey,
We got
I
time to
also don't know.
brainstorm.
We need like context for everybody. Like, I don't think everybody's heard of this Lord of the Pond. So maybe it's just you write like his name and then just Lord of Puddles or something.
I feel like that's still a lot of letters.
It probably is.
I don't know why I can't find. I'll let you know how many letters I get.
I
We
mean,
got some-
if you could shorten it to just Puddle Boy.
Unless you like text error write it.
Oh look, I got 10 words. We good.
Oh, wow.
Incredible.
Looking down mouse, I thought we weren't going to cause any more trouble till after the event.
Well, I think it would have to at least be tomorrow.
Okay.
So just
But
something to think about.
as long as it's not affiliated with me, I'll be totally fine with it.
So for the entire time we're in the city of Horizon, Aesop's on his own, and the rest of us are
No.
just trying to take down this one rude person.
No, I'm totally with you guys. Just if you want to go off and goof, I just don't think for me right now in this city with probably a lot of people that I know will be best for me.
Again,
Is
my
there-
apologies. Nathan.
You seem to be on edge since we got here. Is there someone we should be keeping an eye out for?
Actually, there is. Just this woman I went to school with. I just have a very. I would be so conflicted if I saw her here. We essentially went through the same curriculum in school, and she was my quote-unquote rival, but she was just a jealous bitch. If you just see a beautiful, gorgeous white tiefling, just let me know.
If we do, how would you like us to act and be around them?
Stay away.
Right.
There's no point in wasting breath with that woman.
Do we also shoulder check her, or
I feel like she might do something back. Just don't expect retaliation if there were to be something done. She kind of has the same capabilities I do.
Right.
Other than that, it's just people from my past. We'll see.
if we see like any other minotaurs, should we flag them down? Are they like
Depends. Most likely if you see a minotaur, and I'll point down to my two tails. If you see a minotaur with two tails, that's probably someone I know.
Great.
Have I ever met another minotaur other than Aesop?
Don't think I have.
Like, are they common or
They're pretty. I will let Art correct me on this, but my feeling is that sort of the clan is pretty tight in the work that they do. That I would say, Flint, I will let you roll a history check, but it's a sort of high DC for a very particular thing.
Okay.
No, I mean you knew. Asa is perhaps the first Minotaur you've met. It wasn't a surprise that Minotaurs existed, because but you have not really seen one outside in the places that you've traveled. Is sort of what I'll say.
Okay. Do we
It's
want to
kind
take the direct? Oh, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was moving Assad, but
Yeah, we're good.
do we want to take the direct route to the melody, or the long way and like pass by and get some bread and stuff? Should we get some fancy hats at the feather place?
I'm all down for a nice little stroll.
I'm
as well as see the
never
city.
wearing enough studs.
So, which direction are you heading?
I think it sounded like if we just sort of how do I do this? If we just basically go the long way around this block, we'll pass by most of the cool
Buildings.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is there anywhere in particular? Are you looking to stop at places?
I would like to stop at the general store.
Okay.
General store, get some bread.
Okay.
Some
Well,
jewelry.
starting at the general store. Is there anything in particular you're looking for?
I'm not sure if it's that kind of place, but I'm looking for a herbalism kit.
Yeah, I would say that they have, they would have that. Yeah. The sort of like this is sort of you walk into the store and it is sort of a odds and ends food and rations / supplies of various kinds. And while an herbalism kit is probably one of the things that they don't really sell that much of, that you do see a few of them on the wall. And I forget what the exact cost of these things are. I think they're like 25 or 50 gold.
D&D Beyond has it as 5, but
Oh yeah, sorry,
it's your
5.
town.
Yeah, no, it just go ahead and it's 5 gold. I know some artisan tools are much more expensive than that.
How much are alchemist supplies?
I don't know.
Those are 50 gold. Yeah, I'll pass for now.
Yeah, well, you actually see that they don't have alchemy supplies, but you ask somebody and they indicate that there is a alchemist shop, one that wasn't pointed out to you, and they mention, they sort of point northward and say that there's a shop called Augury and Alchemy at the top of the tower. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't actually prepare like every store, so it's just sort of like, this is just a general store. It has stuff in it. But if there's anything else anybody else wants to buy, this is the place to do it.
Like when you say the place to do it, like for weapons and armor as well?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing of that nature here.
Might restock some of our rations that we ate on the road or something, but
Okay.
nothing noteworthy.
Yeah, if everybody just wants to like spend 1 gold or something to sort of restock on basic supplies.
Sure.
Yep.
1 gold. Oh, I need to transfer all my platinum into gold.
People will make change for you. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
But you continue walking. You do find that you pass one of the other monuments that has been set up in town. This one, I sort of described the first one as being a sort of stack of clouds that has sort of risen into a like almost an obelisk shape. This one is a stack of like water droplets that are sort of like flowing into each other and creating a kind of like ripple on the bottom. And you also, just sort of like giving you some information as you're passing on the road, there seems to be another inn here beyond the canopy. This place is called the Sour Sack. The impression you get is that this is sort of like the overfill or like the cheapest option available. You do see a number of people who are sort of like washing in a bucket outside, not in a like in a way that is sort of like uncouth in any regard, but it's sort of like this is the Japanese pod hotel of a place like this. It's just you know, these are tiny rooms with no amenities, just meant for like sleeping in, just beds. More of a like, I'm trying to think of the word. I'm failing at vocabulary today, but it's not that fancy.
Just general like size wise, how does this town compare to like Mistral or something? Is it bigger, smaller, population
It seems
wise?
more condensed. The Mistral had a lot of sort of like open space and just sort of like trees and grass that was sort of covering areas around, and so it took a lot longer to walk across. This one seems like it might be around the same size population, but it's just much more condensed. And you eventually reach the area that is sort of like flanked by both Bread and the Raven's Feathers.
I think I'm gonna go into the Raven's Feathers. Knowing Aesop, any fancy clothing store he sees, he just has to go in.
Drada follows quickly behind.
If you guys want to come in, I know you guys mentioned bread, getting some bread and pastries. Meet back out on the street.
Sounds good.
Okay.
We'll tag along to the Feathers place.
Sure. So
I will help Clax with bread.
Okay. Well, we'll start at the Raven's Feathers, which is Aesop and who else? I'm sorry, I was looking at notes.
Drada and
Just Drada. Flint. Okay.
Mhm.
So you all approach the Raven's Feathers. That you do see that it is. It does, unlike some of the other places you've just passed by, this place does seem like it's busy. There are people sort of situated behind a counter that are like a group of individuals who are, I don't want to say like a sweatshop environment, but what you kind of see is like clearly they've set up a variety of sewing machines that are just like actively going at all times. More that like business is booming right now, and they seem to be like fairly booked up in that regard, at least as just from at a first glance. You haven't really talked to anybody yet, but in this place you see it's not there's nothing that I would call armor here, unless you're sort of looking for like wizard robes or something. But it sort of like is all sort of silks or sort of like fabrics that are sort of embroidered with like gold and platinum thread. This place, it has quite a fancy lot of sort of fabrics about it, and it seems that there's one woman, a sort of like a black-skinned elven woman who sort of has like red hair, and she is herself dressed in sort of a black dress, and she's sort of like behind a counter, sort of writing down something, and sort of like shifting papers around and passing them behind her, sort of almost like she's taking orders, and then sort of passing them to the seamstresses or seamsters that are sort of doing the work. And there's sort of like, while you're not in line, you get sort of the indication that she's waiting for you to say something, as she's just like writing down something, and she says, "Can I help you?"
Yes. And I just kind of like look at Flint and Drada, seeing if like they want to like add anything or jump in whenever. I am looking for, and I kind of like point to the color scheme that I have on. It's kind of like the pastel blue and pinks. A wide brimmed hat. That's the blue color of my outfit. And glittery if possible.
This is like the first time she looks up, and she sort of looks up expecting you to be like normal height, and then she like looks up further.
Right, I'm like, hi.
And she sort of like pulls out of a desk like one of those sort of fabric measures, and sort of like stands up tall and is starting to like measure your head, and like
I'll lean down.
paying particular attention to like where there would need to be holes for the horns. She actually asks, like, how will you be wearing it? Is it in the back? Are the horns in front? Are the horns going through it? Are they like
Horns through would be best.
okay? And is there any sort of embellishments that you would like?
Just finding a fabric that's more shiny than the rest would be preferable.
She sort of like looks over, and sort of like puts a finger up, sort of in the "I'll be right back," and then she sort of like wanders off. And you guys have a minute to talk amongst yourselves if you would like.
So I kind of look at Flint and Drada. I'm like, I've had fancy clothes locked up tight in my backpack ever since we met each other. And I feel like this is the very first time that I can actually make an outfit out of them. So apologize if I just turn into someone else. I just love clothes.
If you, by the time we leave the store, aren't Extreme Makeover Thatched Cottage Edition or Fantasy House Edition, like come on, you gotta.
Are there things on like a rack here, or is it all custom made?
As best as you can tell, it's all custom made, is what it appears.
Okay, so there's no way for me to like take a look at a price tag on anything. Or...
Well, there's sort of like square footage in fabric, which is sort of like the best you can sort of tell. And go ahead and just roll an intelligence check to sort of like appraise the room and sort of like how fancy this place is. Okay. Yeah, there are a range of materials. It tends to be on the moderate to high end, but not the super high end. This is not sort of like meant for like kings and queens or anything like that. It is sort of the level of clothing that a sort of more wealthy lord or lady or merchant could probably drop, 500 gold on an outfit if they wanted to.
Okay.
Like, because you said there is lots of like gold metallic fabric and glitz and glam and things, But as far as like Drada's aesthetic goes, maybe picking up that perhaps a budding goth might not find articles of clothing they would love in this establishment.
There's certainly black, and I would say that the woman sort of had a description that Aesop gave to her, and she seemed comfortable in going with it. It seems like they're doing custom made work with the fabric that they have, so it's sort of like it may be up to how you describe it.
Gotcha.
And she does come back with a sort of like small roll of sort of a very sort of like light blue / pink pastel, that when you sort of look at it closely, it does have a bit of a shimmer to it, almost like it's pearlescent. And it sort of has like a sort of heavier feel. It's not cotton or anything. It is certainly is a material that you would use for hats. Like it's more sturdy in that way.
Right. Okay. I'm envisioning. I'm like talking to myself, but also talking to her, and I'm like looking at it. I'm like, I'm envisioning it now. Okay. Would it be possible to make a like the wide brimmed hat, but keep the edges like firm and not movable, like a sun hat would be, but just kind of like Kung Lao's hat from Mortal Kombat, if you know what I'm talking about?
She's like, "Who's Kung Lao?" No.
More for the DM.
Yes. Yes. And she says, yes. And she pulls out a piece of paper, kind of draws out sort of the form of it, and says, "You want it to rest like this." And she sort of like draws like a silhouette of your just head's shape with horns. And you note that the hat's brim is not drooping when she does it. It's sort of like straight.
Right. That's the plan. And I kind of pull out some of my fancy clothes that I have in my bag, and I try to like make sure like it color matches well, because you never know with like fabrics and stuff, and I'm hoping it will be.
She says, "If you leave that with me, I'll do my best."
That'd be great.
And what is your name?
Aesop. Aesop Tyrion?
She sort of like furrows her brow and sort of like flips through a book and says, yes, you are all taken care of.
Oh. Okay.
Come back probably. She sort of like looks back at the workload of people behind her and says, day after tomorrow.
Okay. And just for your services and for making the garment or that hat, I'm gonna just as a tip throw in 10 gold.
No, she holds up a hand and refuses it, and she says, "You are taken care of."
Got it. Thank you very much.
You think you're taken care of because of like your parents or because of Avindir?
I have no idea.
I was gonna ask the same question.
Out of curiosity, is Flint Loud Pocket in that book of yours?
She looks and she says, "No."
Okay.
Much appreciated. Hope it's not too crazy.
Is there anything else that you'd like in the Raven's Feather?
No, I think that'll be all. And I kind of look at Drada. I'm like, if I could just borrow that coat, magical robe thing, just
throws
for
it to you
the
immediately.
performance.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I don't need it now, but yes, I would need it for the performance.
This place is maybe not my style.
I think Drada's too punk rock for this.
I will say, with Flint, with your earlier intelligence roll and sort of what she pulled off the shelf, and just sort of like ballparking based on how much fabric would be needed to make a hat of this variety, you're thinking that probably a good 200-300 gold. that is being
Yeah,
covered.
definitely not my style. That's the problem.
And you get the impression. I mean, you get the impression that Aesop will make it work, but that even though Aesop is really fashionable, that the hat will probably be more expensive than the rest of your wardrobe. It's pretty fancy.
As we walk out, whenever we do, I think Drod is just like to Flint, making sure Ace up. And you're like, honestly, like I prefer to thrift anyways. Like,
I mean, it's like a festival in town. Maybe we should get some like kitschy stuff.
ooh yeah, camp, love,
Yeah.
love.
I mean, I'm down.
A real high-low look for Aesop.
I don't know who would have. I mean, maybe probably Avindir. I'm gonna assume Avindir put in a good word.
You're competing under his name.
This is true.
Might want to make you look good.
Just heavy sigh. Can't believe this is all kind of happening right now. A lot.
It's a lot. You're doing great, and you just got a rad new hat. It's gonna be okay.
So excited for the hat.
Focus on the hat. Focus on the hat.
And just to be clear, it's sort of the morning. She sort of indicated the morning of what you know to be the opening ceremonies will be the time to pick it up. So,
got
it. Bread.
Bread.
Is this Clax and Mouse?
I mean, Mouse is going to bread.
Clax is right behind, or right alongside.
Have either of you been to like a Korean bakery?
I don't believe I have.
It's sort of like, it's like, well, I don't want to describe this as if it is a model that matches every Korean bakery, but what I mean to suggest is that it's like when you enter, first of all, the smell of just many sorts of interesting baked goods hits you, warm and definitely like things that are still in the oven. There is sort of like a kind of like the cheese counter at a grocery store, like the sort of like center room, like roundabout that has like all sorts of cheeses on it. It's like that, except different kinds of pastries and breads, and some of them that are like, you have everything from sort of your like cheese danishes to your like rum cake to your sort of like fancy donuts to something more simple in that regard. And at this time of day, it actually is starting to look pretty, like the shelves are starting to look pretty empty. There still is a selection, but it's you get the impression that like a lot of it has been sold out earlier in the morning, and that they probably bake things in fresh batches every day. But so at this moment, it's not very busy, and sort of a halfling figure from behind the counter sort of like jumps up on a stool and says, "Well, hey there. You want some bread?"
Yes, we do.
Well, you come to the right place. And just sort of indicates for you to pick whatever you'd like. For all intents and purposes, if there's something you are imagining that you would like, they either have it or can make it. But it's sort of like, without going through all the bread imagination that I have in my head, it's sort of up to you on what you want.
If they have it. Mouse doesn't want a special order or anything. There's plenty of fun things in this room. Mouse would like, if they have it, cornbread or some variety of corn-based bread. Something with raisins, and the most ridiculous looking thing in the whole shop.
Certainly have cornbread, because it's sort of not a morning bread. And so it's sort of like, it's what they have.
I'm upset that Mouse likes cornbread. Millie doesn't.
It
feels really right, though.
It does.
They have just like like those simple sort of like bags of raisin cookies in sort of like a they're not in a bag, but they're sort of like stacked in a row, and then they'll get a paper bag and stuff them in there for you. As far as a ridiculous bread, like what kind of ridiculous are you talking about?
Just something, whatever looks the most foreign to her. Like, she wants to try something she's never tried before.
I tend to think that what you're presented with is there is a like a sort of pancake of sorts that is like clearly gone into a molded griddle of some kind that is shaped like a horse. And you're told that it has like there's a variety of like sweet custards that it's filled with, and it's probably foreign to you because you're like, I don't know that you know what custard is.
This is fair. I will take several of all three items so that I can share with the party. Clax, what do you want?
So Clack's immediately looking for meat pies, sausage rolls, anything with meat filling in bread. Just sounds amazing to him to start. And then if they have that, then I'll expand upon it a little bit.
There is sort of it's sort of like along the lines of a deep fried sloppy Joe or something. Something that it seems to have like a meat filling, and it's been turned into like a donut.
So I see him just pretty much, whether it's self-serve or whatever, getting as many of those as he can, and then not really having sweet, just kind of anything that catches his eye. Like I just picture Clax pretty much walking out with half of whatever's left in the store. He's so excited from being on the road, being traveling, and actually has money. He's not on a city watch salary. He actually has money, and he's like, I want something savory. And then also, oh, I don't know if I like sweet. Let's try it. That looks good. That looks good. That looks good. And pretty much just, I just went to the outlets and shopping, bags under arms kind of deal.
For all intents and purposes, you get everything you want and more. And it's not terribly expensive. It is the Bureau of, what is it? Ready to eat affordable dough, after all. And you both come out of there with only spending about 4 gold between you.
I'll take the 3. You take the 1? Or do you want me to take 3 quick?
And yeah, and the person behind the shelf is just like, as you're picking stuff up, they're bagging it. It's just like you're like, I want that, they bag it. I want that, they bag it. And then they eventually have to like give you a bag to hold all your bags in, and they're just like, well, I guess we're probably looking to close up a little early today.
Thank you. Clax
Uh,
immediately starts fishing in for one of the donut filled with meat. And on the way out, like, bags, shoving in his mouth on the way out.
It's probably around the same time as the others leave the Raven's Feather. They're just across the street from each other, so you guys link it back up quickly. Some of you well fed, and some of you who are not yet.
Oh my god, you guys go first. Like, everyone? Go. And starts to hand one day something and is like, oh. Everyone.
There's
I
meat
need a
in that.
horse filled
I've
with
got-
custard.
I've got other ones that don't have meat if you want some.
Yes.
And I kind of hold my bag out and just kind of like hold it in front of him, just smorgasbord of breads in there.
Choosing one. I didn't realize I was a meat, sorry.
Oh, good. Turns to Drada.
Drada picks the one that I guess Clax is least eagerly eyeing down and anticipating shoving in his mouth.
Cornbread? Who likes
This is definitely
cornbread?
where Kevin thought this session was going.
No, I mean, I said that there might be some RV before the tournament starts.
So is it Flint saying who likes cornbread, or the player behind Flint saying who likes cornbread?
What is it?
I, as a player, really like cornbread and corn-based things, and Millie hates corn.
Oh my god,
It's fantasy.
Exactly.
it's a big lump with knobs. I don't know if you
Cornbread.
guys.
Turn to Flint. Flint,
I just
you
I
try
just
to-
grab a random thing without looking.
There's more. Anybody want more? Because I got plenty.
Yeah, I'm stress eating at this point. I'll take another one.
All right. Millie, I got plenty. I know you got some, but you want some of these?
Mouse.
Or sorry.
Mouse is very happy with her choices. If not confused why custard goes inside donuts, but delicious nonetheless.
Second meat pie goes in.
Should we go ahead and secure rooms at the Canopy? They're not going to sell out, do you think, do you?
Well, do you think we'll get rooms at the Melody? The Rising Melody?
I think we should
find
check there
out.
first.
I say this not to tell you the answer, but not every tavern is an inn. You know, you could say you don't know whether that's true or not, but I'm just simply making sure that that's known.
Yep.
So you're heading to the Rising Melody, is that correct?
Do it.
Sure.
Okay. Easy enough, and let's just see. It doesn't take too long. It's still pretty early in the day, all things considered. You do pass by another one of these monuments. This one, it's sort of again, it's following this like stacking motif. This one just seems to be like a number of boulders that are balanced on each other. In fact, you're not even sure if this one was carved. It may have literally just been like large stones somehow piled on each other through some unknown way, or really detailed in the sense that they managed to capture that realism of it. And you also just get a glimpse of the Horizon Theater as you're sort of passing by. It does seem like at this moment it's being sort of set up. You do, I want to say, Clax, give me a history check for a particular reason. Okay.
Ooh.
The sort of like what you're seeing, the Horizon Theater, it seems like it is a like multi-purpose place, multi-purpose stadium, and it's almost like they're tearing down what was a fighting pit in order to set up a stage with chairs. So it's less of a like fixed theater is your take on it, and more that it is like an event space that is sort of customized based on whatever the local event is. And I only really made you roll for it because I was like, you like to get into a scribe. I don't really know that. I don't want to just describe Clax as somebody who goes to fighting pits, but I just feel like you would have an eye for like, oh, this place used to be used for combat or for sparring or something.
File that away. I've got that. I'm not going to share that with the group. I'm just kind of interesting.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey,
On the stream, I can see icons of the places that we've been. Should I see those on
sure.
my Foundry?
If you, on your left sidebar, there should be like a bookmark icon.
Oh, hey,
yeah.
thank you.
And then a button next to that sidebar should show up with a pin. If you click that, then you'll always see them, even if you navigate away from that.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And you guys approach the Rising Melody. Oops, I accidentally paused. this building is similar to sort of the theater. You sort of just get the impression that this is a space that is currently being set up. There are a number of workers and it's like almost construction that seems to be happening, not to the sort of outside of the building, but more just like the sounds of things happening on the inside. This building is beautiful. It is. It has sort of. It's a single-story building that has sort of like an ornate blue roof on it that sets it apart from everything else you've seen in this town. It isn't like an open air building in that there are, at least from everything you see, there's no sort of like doors that open and close. There's just sort of these archways that lead inside. And on the sort of perimeter of the building, you see that there's sort of like indoor. There's what must be indoor seating on the inside that you haven't really seen yet, but on the outside, it's sort of flanked by these like stone tables and chairs that are sort of like that are themselves almost like decorating the outside of this place. It has like a very zen look to it, and as you're sort of just approaching it from the front, and you just sort of have a clear line of sight on the inside, you also see behind what is obviously a bar counter or something of that nature, that there is just this huge grand piano set behind the bar. I'm going to bring you to a map just because I did make it, more so for my own inspiration. Again, it doesn't suggest that you're going to fight here. So you sort of walk. I sort of positioned you inside already, and this is sort of what it will look like when it is sort of like finished being built. But you see, sort of, that there are like bleachers being set up for like additional seating. There are a number of sort of individuals who are kind of like setting up tables or lighting fixtures or fixing wood boards or polishing this or polishing that. There's sort of like a hustle and bustle of like hired workers who are preparing this space, and you sort of I'd say you're probably more standing standing at the entryway when you kind of come in, and you do see sort of like Avindir sort of sitting at one of the tables going over some paperwork with somebody at the table, and he doesn't seem to have sort of noticed you come in yet. This is definitely like the look of a place in construction, or that like business. It doesn't seem that the business is open right now per se.
Who has the cask?
I will pull the cask from the back of holding.
When it seems like he's in between topics or not like intensely talking to this person, I think we would approach and let him know that we have his cask.
He looks up and says, "Oh, welcome. I'm glad you made it." And he sort of just says to the person who's working next to him, who seems to be a like younger Air Genasi woman, who it was sort of like going over what you immediately glanced looks like blueprints. He sort of looks at her and says, I'll find you later and we'll finish this up," and then sort of hands it to her, and she walks away, and says, "Well, of course, welcome. The Left Stars, was it?"
That would be correct. That's us.
Indeed.
Well, well, I'm happy you made it. I hope everything went well.
Well's maybe
Relatively.
a strong word.
Yeah,
We made it.
a cask.
Great. Uh, he sort of like reaches for it and sort of like inspects it, not like with a magnifying glass or anything, but he just sort of like, okay, well, certainly appreciate you doing that favor for me. I know that it was sort of short notice, but having to divert, having to delay to meet you all that morning in Vend did just set us off course a little bit, and the captain was a little nervous about our schedule, so
Hopefully our friends using the airship isn't too big of an inconvenience.
no, I've ensured that the crew was paid well. They were supposed to take a little bit of leave in consonance while I attended business here, but I'm sure they'll appreciate the bonus. So, well, welcome. This is he just sort of like he stands up from the table to sort of to be at eye level with most of you, and says, "This is it. This is the Rising Melody. Here's my first and proudest home."
Well, it's a beautiful space for sure.
I love the shade of blue you chose for the tide. Gorgeous, gorgeous.
Thank you. Well, and here is also where the opening ceremonies will be taking place. So I think you guys are a few days early, but in about, not tonight, not tomorrow night, but the night after, I would encourage you to show up and be ready to meet and mingle if there's anybody that you want to sort of meet among the guests who are attending. There will be there's sort of traditions that we have followed in hosting this tournament before, and so there'll be a variety of things. We'll talk about the agenda. Sort of looks at Aesop and says, and a little bit more information will be shared about what to expect.
Great.
Not everything, as you know. I
Right.
indicated some surprises, but and then we'll be getting started the following day.
How many people are expected to come this year?
I think in the theater I think it seats maybe 150, which tends to be between sort of those who are invited to come and the individuals that they bring with them. It tends to fill the house.
So just a mental note in my head, a lot of people.
There will probably be a smaller showing for the ceremonies and the receptions that we host here. But there will be... Oh, and now that I think about it, I misspoke. It's not just the reception that takes place here, but actually the day one competition is here as well. We'll be going to the theater on the second day, I believe.
Good to know. And I point over to where that grand piano is. I'm like, is that kind of like the main stage area over there?
Yeah. He sort of like, he points here. This is sort of the stage that people will be standing on. Here is sort of like the judge's desk. There will be we have a variety of judges coming in that are representing the various duchies to sort of be impartial in this competition. of course, winning over the crowd is just as important as impressing the judges. But the judges do have particular tastes, so.
Not that this name should mean anything to you, but is the name Benedict Dark Draft? Is that one of the judges this year?
I don't. I say this for your benefit, but I would encourage you to. This is not a criticism. I encourage you to refer to lords as Lord Dark Draft, perhaps, in front of them. But no, Lord Dark Draft is not a judge, thankfully.
Sounds like there's a reputation.
I believe he. I mean, are you familiar?
Just they were in front of us in line
Oh.
at the mayor's office. We thought we had to check in. It was quite a debacle.
Well, he will be in attendance. I'll say that. Being as that you've confirmed that he has showed up, I expect that he will be here.
May I step on the stage real quick just to see what it feels like?
Please feel free. And you, there's nothing to really describe about it as far as the map is concerned, but you do find that you are sort of raised about 5 feet up, and you have a clear line of sight of every table in this room. There would be no sort of like being behind somebody unless somebody was like ridiculously tall sitting in the front. There is sort of like a center stage nature to it.
Right. Just kind of feeling how I'm feeling, being on the center stage like this, kind of looking around, seeing like where should I draw my eyes to, like really much like overthinking my perspective and how I should stand, how I should talk with my hands, how I should gesture being in this space. I'm like very much going through my head right now.
While Aesop is sort of up there doing like a mini rehearsal of sorts. Avindir is saying this still loud enough for you to hear as well, Aesop, but he's sort of like now talking to the other four and says, I believe that you all will be, he sort of points at this table over here. I believe that you'll be sitting over here as sort of honored guests, of course. And yeah, certainly excited to have you all here.
Is there like a typical dress code or anything, or?
He sort of at the mention of that, he sort of looks at all of you more closely, and he says, I don't think that wearing armor would be you would stand out wearing armor, but for the reception and for the and for just sort of like attending the theater on the second day, and for any sort of engagement you have, generally just try to look presentable. I would say the finer you dress, the more sort of attention you might get from people who you may or may not want to have the attention of. There will be mayors in attendance, there will be lords and ladies, there will be some of the more common folk as well, usually those who are attendants to the lords and ladies who are coming. And so I think that depends on which kind of crew you want to fit in with, if that makes sense. I do expect, he sort of like indicates to Aesop, I do expect that you will be greeted by a number of them yourself. Just we will be doing introductions during the first day.
Right. Yeah.
At that pause, I kind of pull out my bag of goodies and offer Lord Avindir I picked these up at Bread. I don't know if are you hungry? They're really good, especially the meat filled ones. They're
I'm-
delicious. I got 2 left. I ate the rest.
I'm not Lord Avindir just yet.
Avindir, sir.
Just Avindir's fine. He'll take the one that happens to be closest to him, and Caesar says thanks. So he sets it down as if he's not hungry right this second, but that he'll eat it eventually.
Am I
Uh,
allowed to know how many other competitors there are going to be? Or is that day of information?
No. There's only 4. There is one from each of the 3 duchies, and then there is mine because I am the host, and so I get to pick my own champion.
Wow. Now I
Any,
feel the pressure
white-
even more.
Any white tieflings?
Competing? No.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I haven't met. I should say I haven't met all of the competitors before, so I can't actually say that for sure. But just sort of rewinding a moment to sort of business, and he sort of like looks at Aesop and says like, "Take your time. I don't want to rush you from your preparations, but I did just want to follow up on sort of our first meeting. There was sort of we had a conversation about each of your individual hopes and goals, and should we join forces, or should you wish to sort of work for me in a more formal capacity? We do have the next several days open, and if anybody, if you wouldn't mind, I would be curious to meet with each of you individually, just to kind of confirm your own desires if you're still looking for a patron.
Sure. I mean, we're
Yeah, happy to chat.
Very well, and it could happen after as well. Ideally, before you leave the city, we could have some documentation and just make our arrangement a little bit more formal. But if I do feel like it would be valuable for me to meet with all of you individually and perhaps as a group, just to make sure that that this is something that you're interested in.
Sounds like a plan.
Kind of say just from afar, I'm like, yeah, you've been a great help to us so far. So
Very well. Well, I have a little bit more work to get done today before we sort of close up and begin sort of polishing this place up tomorrow. If any of you want to stop by tomorrow, then just look for me. I'll be here, and we'll be able to find a private space to have a little chat.
Do you have any recommendations as to the best place for a group such as us to stay during, the next little bit?
If you're looking for fancy, there's the Sanctum Lavender. He sort of points across the street. Otherwise, most people go to the Canopy just for sort of traditional lodging. I'm afraid that I don't have anything set up for you. It's been too busy.
just out of mild curiosity, well, more of a statement. Appreciate if you paid for the services at the Raven's Feathers.
Oh, of course.
Oh.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
I look forward to seeing whatever you've chosen.
Thankfully, I already carry around fancy clothes, but I just needed a few accessories to kind of complete everything. Can't really take that on the road.
Well, I am sure that you will make a grand appearance. I do wish to just say that, we've done some work together so far, and I was happy to find that when the Heroes Academy found you all, that that there was this opportunity to bring you here and to have you sort of participate in this. But I have no expectations. This tournament is a fun event that admittedly serves some of my purposes outside of all this. There are a number of investors who come to enjoy the new vintage of brandy being opened, and sort of get a taste so that they can make their own financial decisions before we go to auction on a lot of it. So I'm just being transparent to say, like, I want you to have fun. Win or lose, I'm happy with it. There's no pride on the line for me, at least. I understand if there's pressure for you. And I appreciate that you're willing to participate, but your success is not necessary for us to continue to be working together or to continue to be friends.
At least takes a little bit of the pressure off. There's still a lot there. And thank you.
Is there a typical like prize or I don't know, trophy or anything that comes along with winning? Any sort of recognition or?
There is. He sort of smirks at you and says, I assure you that the details will be shared during the opening ceremony. But unless anybody has anything to discuss right now, he just sort of lets the moment linger.
No, I think we're gonna go to find some housing arrangements right now. But thank you for all your help.
Very well. Again, please stop by if and when you'd like to chat. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you at the ceremonies. And you all depart. We will use that moment to take our break as you figure out where precisely you'd like to stay, and then what you'd like to do for the next 2 days as you prepare for everything that's going to happen.
Ooh. All right.
All right. I'll be back. All right. We return to the good old exterior overland city map of Horizon. You all have just met with Avindir for the first time since you came here, and where would you like to go?
I think the canopy was next. Our destination. Our
You don't
travels.
want to rub elbows with Puddles?
We don't know where. Well, I guess we do know where he's staying. Not really.
Maybe we saunter by.
I forgot to reveal that on the map, but yes, the Sanctum Lavender is here.
Oh, it's right now. Oh, actually, that kind of changes things for me. I thought it was maybe somewhere further into the city. I would actually like to go in. The Sanctum Lavender on our travels. If
Like
anyone
right now?
doesn't mind. If anyone doesn't mind.
I mean, Puddle Boy is always a great friendly face to see.
Yeah.
I might want to wait outside just to so you don't have the correlation.
Got it.
Oh yeah, that feels fair.
Yeah, I just have to ask a quick question, and maybe I don't know honestly how long it will take, but I just need to ask something real quick.
Do you want company?
I think I'm good.
Okay, we'll hang out here.
Okay. You all make your way to the Sanctum Lavender, sort of a few of you sitting around at a tree. I would say just like hanging out at a nearby tree as Aesop goes in. This
I might go in just to case the joint.
Okay, but like not next to Aesop.
Yeah,
just
not
sort of
next
like you go in
Sounds like you're gonna rob
2
the
minutes
place.
later.
Are you in a thieves guild?
Listen, there's nothing suspicious about Flint at all.
No.
No.
Well, Aesop going in first, then Flint gets all this information 2 minutes later. But it has an an aura of like over fancy, like super posh, like sort of
Garish.
Garish, yeah. It has like those sort of couches, sort of in a sort of like seating area outside the reception desk that sort of like have those like old, like those buttons that are sort of sewn into them that sort of like pull them back, and everything is sort of like purple or pink, and to some degree it probably matches because there are some like pastels, and it probably does match your look a little bit.
Right.
Not quite. But it's sort of like also like perfume and incenses in the air at all times, and the like attendants who are sort of either behind the desk working on one thing or another, or a number of people who are sort of like they look like they must be sweeping the floor after somebody arrived 2 minutes ago. Like they're just keeping the place ultra polished at all times. And then there's just like an era of like rushed, sort of like unfair overwork about the people who are here and catering to nobility and royalty. Is just sort of like you get the impression that while there's nobody immediately here, as far as like patrons are concerned, you get the impression that like everybody is kept really busy and on task despite that. But there does seem to be a sort of concierge that if you wanted to walk up and strike up a conversation.
Hi. Hello. I'm actually seeing if my parents are staying here by chance. They were supposed to come for the tournament. We were supposed to get together for the competition, but just seeing if they've arrived.
This sort of looks you up and down. They're sort of like the nature of like, do I even have to ask your name based on your race?
Mm-hmm.
And they say, I don't believe anybody resembling you has arrived yet.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Should we send word anywhere if they arrive?
Yeah, if you could send word to my name's Aesop, over at the Canopy.
Very well. We will do that upon their arrival.
Much appreciated. That's all I wanted to ask.
Okay.
Um,
You bump into
and
Flint on the way out.
I'm like, oh, hello.
Flint, you get all that too, but if there's anything else you planned to do.
I was kind of looking around. I figured it was going to be a big fancy place. Wanted to see the
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah, it looks fancy, garish, and I would say more garish to you than it is to Aesop, just because like Aesop has a style that is not this, but it is
Right.
probably closer to this than what Flint thinks of style.
Is this strictly a hotel, or is this also like a bar downstairs?
Everything you're
Like-
looking at seems to be strictly bar downstairs, or sorry, strictly hotel.
Okay.
You probably get a faint scent of like kitchens, like food being prepared in some other faraway room.
But it's all like room service. It's not.
I mean, are you going to do a walkabout?
I mean, I guess not. I was just kind of glancing around.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
yeah. Your first impression, like there might be a dining hall or something, but judging by the first room you step into, you're imagining that it's sort of probably a like closed doors club, sort of dining hall, if anything.
Okay.
Okay, but you all link back up outside and heading to the canopy.
Yes.
Okay.
On our way there, can we just keep an eye out for a less expensive clothing store? Or were there some clothes in that general store I was in?
There were simpler clothes in the general store that were like off the rack, sort of tunics and whatnot.
Okay, not immediately, but it occurs to me that Mouse maybe just has leather and furs, and maybe you should get like a brush.
They certainly
Yeah.
have brushes. But you all head to the canopy. The impression you get, I'll describe it like out of character, is just sort of like a standard like Marriott, but not like the fancier ones, and obviously a fantasy Marriott, not nothing that is sort of like, it's not like a sky high rise or anything. It's sort of like maybe 4 stories up, and it's more wide than it is tall, and it seems to be sort of just like comfortable lodgings. There are, for the purposes of brevity, because I don't really have like a lot planned for the canopy, it's just the place to sleep. You find that it's how many rooms would you all be looking for?
3?
Yeah, if
Seems
you-
reasonable.
yeah, it would be one gold per night per room. So it'd be 3 gold a night for however long you plan to stay. It seems that they do have plenty of space available.
We should get rooms for at least 3 days? Or 5 days?
Assuming that you're staying till the end of the tournament, that would be at least 6 days. They do mention that it doesn't come with any kind of food, and then they sort of like recommend bread, as well as Morning Dew, which is another sort of like breakfast bar across town. Bread is more of like your like food that you don't really sit and eat it, and Morning Dew is more of a restaurant.
Yeah,
I mean-
so 3 rooms for 6 days?
Yeah, that works.
There we go.
Okay. you all want to, somebody wants to cover it, or you can split it up, like 3 gold apiece.
It was what, 18 total?
Yep.
I got it.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my god. Oh, those pockets so deep.
Yeah, I mean, you
No,
guys
they're
are-
not. She's just not. She just doesn't give a shit about money.
We love that.
But sort of the day, I don't want to go into another downtime montage, but it's sort of like you have time to kill between now and the start of the tournament, between tonight, tomorrow night, and then the remainder of the 3rd day. Are there things you would like to do to sort of prepare?
I would ask Strada to help me pick out a cheap outfit at the general store.
Drada
We don't have to
would,
like play that out, but that's what
Drada
Mouse
would be
is doing.
beyond honored.
I think oh, go ahead.
Go for it.
I think I would want to go on like a solo walk, just visiting all the monuments. Because walking through in the beginning when we first got here kind of reminded me of my childhood a little bit and everything that we as a family went through. So I don't know, just kind of reminiscing, walking through everything. Just having that feeling that my parents might be here and I haven't seen them in a long time. So just a whole bunch of like reminiscence, childhood, past feelings are coming back up again. Do they have do any of the monuments have plaques or like wording on them? Or is
Yeah.
it just the statue itself?
They do.
Okay.
I want to make sure we can kind of go through people's things one thing at a time. So,
Okay.
so just kind of think of your ideas for now. Maybe we'll start with Drada and Mouse. What we don't have to role play it unless you want to, but there's options. How does this? What does Drada pick out for Mouse?
That's the question.
I don't think it's good. That's not true. I think Drada has taste. I think his taste is just unique. I do think Drada would pick something at I first think Drada would ask, "What are you planning on doing with your hair?"
I mean, I don't usually do much with it. I figured I'd try to get the sticks out and maybe put in some more flowers.
Feels great. I think to juxtapose just the wild mess and shock of hair and florals, I think honestly Drada would pick something out kind of simple. Something that's more of a shift, nothing super elaborate. Maybe if there is a couple nice floral details or on something to match the flowers in the hair, that'd be cool. It'd be pretty simple.
Well, such a thing will run you at a store like this, a gold.
Cool.
Yeah, not a lot. Which, I mean, a gold is not a small amount, but Mouse doesn't really know that.
I now have a simple shift with a belt and some floral details.
Yeah, and a brush to comb away the twigs if you'd like.
That's a downtime activity all its own.
I think you should leave a couple in. They add some character.
Either Mouse or Drada, is there anything else that you sort of imagine doing over this time?
I think Drada would spend a fair amount of time both at the Rising Melody and at the theater, just to scout out the place. One, just given the thought of if shit goes down, exit routes, and also to be hey, where's the best place to be supportive of Asa? Because he seems really nervous and want to know where we can be there for him physically in the space.
I think Mouse and Drada make it the Mouse and Drada day, and while we're doing this, Mouse is just looking for the white tiefling.
Happy to join that search.
Yeah.
And or any other Minotaur. Minotaurs.
Okay. I mean, you could.
We'll be like, oh my god, those parents.
One of you could roll. I mean, roll investigation. How about one of you roll investigation, one of you roll perception?
I'll take perception.
This
Rude.
hurts me.
Investigation 7. Not you are not really able to spot any perceived threats in the sort of white-skinned tiefling category. There are tieflings, mouse, that sort of have lighter skin. You sort of get, like, based on what Aesop told you, and sort of the mention of like a rival, you don't find anybody that meets like the exact description. Obviously, I'm not suggesting that even a 26 means that you've cased the entire town,
Right.
but it's sort of like you're sort of looking for somebody younger and somebody who, like, you have an image in your head that you're sort of associating with what Aesop has said, and as somebody you've never met before. And there are tieflings that are sort of out and about, but nobody that really strikes you as being sort of an exact match. Some people who are like close, but you're not quite. It's like probably not.
I'm not running back to Aesop to say I saw her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no spottings of other minotaurs, I will say. I think there was one other thing that was being looked for. I sort of didn't write it down.
Gerardo was looking for exit routes.
Oh, yes.
And
Yeah.
Yep.
Places that we can most visibly be in support, and also if we need to book it out of there, how can we best book it out of there?
Okay. I will just say, well, the Rising Melody you saw, and it's because it's like open air. It seems like there's clear exits from multiple directions to just sort of like hop through the arches and hop over fences if you had to. You know that you do have assigned seating, so it's sort of like your position, your ability to support Aesop is sort of probably fixed to a location. But I can show you the map again if you're curious to sort of take a look at it. But there's nothing really special that you find outside of what I've shown you. As far as the theater is concerned, the icon I chose on the map suggests that there's these like high walls, but it's actually just like a short, like half hedge that is sort of the perimeter of the theater, and so there aren't really like, it's not really contained in a way that would risk trapping people in per se.
Follow-up question, and if I can't tell, so fine. Just given that it's the theater, like, I'd also maybe take a look at like the floorboards and like, are there any traps? They're not literal. When I say traps, I mean trapdoors, not like death traps.
Yeah. It's not so it's an exterior thing, and there are no floorboards. What you see is actually a series of like multicolored marble. I'll just show you the map, just to give you a glimpse of it.
that would probably answer my questions as well.
I'm just sort of like showing you what it will look like when it's finished being set up. So I'll ask for some forgiveness in... Okay, hold on. Let me drag I'm dragging all the player tokens over here because I assume Drada might communicate this to other people.
Probably would.
And Mouse just wants to know if it's at least 120 feet wide.
For no particular reasons.
Just summon a lightning strike right in the middle.
Listen, lightning can be very theatrical.
Yeah. So I would say with an investigation 7, you can't really scan for quote unquote traps or anything, especially because it's currently being worked on. And so there's sort of like it's being set up, and it probably would be out of place for you to be like walking in a construction zone. But what you see is that there are these rows of sort of seats being set up in the form of these like multicolored couches, and they're all sort of pointing to this stage. There's also, I would assume Dorada does this sort of casework at night, and so I'll make it a little darker so that you'll sort of see that it is sort of like the lights are being set up in a way that is sort of showing off the stage and showing off the platform. And it's sort of surrounded by trees, which I know is Drada's favorite thing as well.
Oh my gosh, Drada's so happy about that.
I'll bring you back over to the horizon map, though. Is that all for the two of you?
Yep.
Okay. Aesop, you're doing a roundabout of the monuments.
Yes. Actually, I have a specific route. Actually, if I could start with the earth one and then make my way around to water finishing, and then stopping by the library if I have.
Sure. So there aren't. I haven't like typed up sort of the plaques in detail, but what I will ask is for a general history check, and I'll sort of use that to sort of inform you about the purpose of these.
Can I give myself inspiration for this?
You can't give yourself inspiration at all.
Okay.
That's one of the features of the pen, and it's only for performance checks.
Okay.
You could give yourself enhanceability, I suppose. if
I
you're
think I
trying-
will do
yeah.
that because I just would like to know as much information about these as possible. So I will put it in chat and give myself advantage.
This is during downtime, so we're not really counting spell slots.
Okay.
Yeah, so go ahead and roll with advantage.
I try.
And I will say one thing is that you sort of pick up even just with an 11 is that these are monuments sort of in a religious fashion, sort of dedicated towards the four planar deities. And there's sort of the suggestion that the middle monument, this like middle gazebo, is sort of the unity, the sort of monument to unity, which is sort of what you might know to be sort of this like. Some people consider it as sort of the god above the elemental gods, and some people consider it to be its own thing. With an 11, it's sort of like a lot of the details of this are you haven't really done your religious research too much, and maybe if you did, you might be able to pick up on some of the details. But it seems like they're intentionally placed here, not just for religious worship, but also potentially for like defense. And you don't know how or why that works, though, or if it's even real, or if it's like superstition. I'm sorry, I will say, because I've described the stacks of different monuments so far. So the one that you hadn't seen yet was the fire monument.
Yeah, let's see.
And it's unlike the others, it's not really so much stacks as much as it is sort of like just a column of flame that goes up equally high to the rest. All of these seem to be, I should mention that they're not like colored in any way. They are all sort of like a marble or stone of some kind. And they're all sort of matching in that regard. But you make your way around.
Do they have name plaques? Or just
Uh,
like the names of the deities themselves? Or like the elemental?
Yes.
God.
As I pull up my notes. There is do you end up visiting the middle one as well? The one in the middle of the park?
Probably eventually.
Okay. Yeah, and you have plenty of downtime, so maybe it's a second trip out.
Yeah.
The they all sort of do name the gods in particular. The details are not, again, not something you can grasp, but there's Ard, Aarde, who is the god of earth. There's Ember, who is the god of fire. There's Airy. I'll type these out soon. There's Airy, who is the god of wind and skies. Sorry, I was looking at something. There is I'm sorry, I'm pausing. This thing isn't loading. Oh, there is Vapos, who's the god of water. And then in the middle, when you eventually stop by, is Quintessence, who is the god of unity. I'll type these out.
Definitely heard the name Quintessence before. Maybe we didn't know what it actually was when we first had that conversation, but that's something to note for Flint.
That was from you heard the name from Zizazius.
Yes. Okay. And then if there's time, just stop by the library.
Sure. Is there anything in particular you're looking for?
Yes. So hopefully with some of I know my check wasn't that high, but hopefully maybe the names, just like the general guide names, will help me narrow down my search a little bit for what I'm looking for. Oh god. I'm going to actually see if this, and I'm going to assume that this is a blue sapphire. It's either in the air or water category for Neptus. So that's where I'm kind of honing down my search instead of a general elemental one.
Okay. Do you believe sort of that you're in the religion section, the arcana section, the history section?
Seeing as how we're in a town that's not worshiping them, but they have statues of them in a religious context, I think I would be searching religion first.
Okay. If you want to roll me a religion check.
Okay.
Oh, see on my I don't know how the dice physics work. If it's aligned for everybody. For me, it was 19. A 20. There is sort of it's sort of like a footnote. What you've learned about Neptus so far is really just I think Prince came to mind, and then Neptus, and then you're sort of been trying to narrow down from that. And it's sort of in that sense, you get the impression that the texts that you're looking at are not going into details of princes as much as it's talking about the higher level sort of knowledge about maybe about Vapos and whatnot, but it is
right.
You do find the name Neptus mentioned, and it's marked as Neptus 3, Neptus the Third. In this book that has to be 50 years old, under the sort of water religion texts.
Any information is good information regarding this.
Yeah, I mean it's more. Yeah, you're narrowing it down.
Yes, that is the plan. And I would say, like, while I'm studying or like reading through these books, like I leave out the gem, not knowing if they can see what I'm doing, but just kind of like maybe they will, maybe they do see me, just letting them know that I'm actually trying to like learn more about them. And so like when I find that and like make note of that, I just kind of look at them. I'm like, wonder if you have any. Wonder how long your generation goes. How families work. Do you have family? I have no idea. I have dealt with your kind almost my entire life, and I still almost know nothing about you. I kind of put my gem back in. And I head out.
Okay. Flint, Clax, any activities over the course of several days?
I think over the course of, a couple of days, I would at some point try and talk with Clax. Be like, hey, so for this whole thing, they said no armor. You think we can, like, bring weapons, though? Like,
I was kind of planning on just staying outside, to be honest.
you gotta come in. You gotta be
Well,
there
but it's
for, like,
open air. Like I can see and everything.
we got,
'Cause if
like, a
not-
table.
Yeah, but then I'm gonna have to get dressed up.
I mean, I'm not gonna dress up that much. We give you, like, a hat. That's dressy.
I don't think that's how. I don't think hats automatically make you dressy.
We'll get you, like, a cloak and a hat, and maybe a monocle.
Oh, where's the monocle coming in?
I mean, that's just... We'll make a joke out of the whole thing. But, like... I don't know. I feel like swords are like appropriate with like a nice outfit. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody bring a battle axe to a fancy thing.
Agreed. But I don't have a sword. Do you have a sword?
I don't have a sword, but basically, I think I have an idea for making that like thing I did to your axe before a little cooler. But I'm trying to decide if I should do it to the axe or if we should get you like a sword.
I've never really been a sword guy. Like I can use them. We got trained in them. I'm a pretty decent fighter, but there's something about the heft of an axe, and with my size, I can just really get behind it. Like it's just a lot more comforting and able to be done. That being said, I'm not opposed to the idea if you can let me.
I mean, I can do it to an axe too. I just was trying to figure out what you might be taking to this event.
As for this event, I was kind of hoping to keep everything as is. Not that anything's going to go wrong, but I haven't seen much of a guard presence. I haven't seen any indication of problems or anything else. But all the more reason to be suspicious. Like it should be. Maybe I'm just paranoid. But it's one of those things. Like, no. So if you want, we can. Did they have swords at the general store? I don't remember seeing any in there.
If you're comfortable with the axe, let's just go with the axe. I think it's you. Like I think they'll allow it probably. If not, we'll throw it in the bag of holding. It's fine.
I want to make a retroactive. And Clax, can you just roll a perception check? This is for something a while ago.
Okay. Sorry. Skills. Perception.
Flint is picking your pocket.
Nope. I had no clue.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll let Flint roll the perception too, because it's sort of like relevant to the conversation and something that was said. Okay. I mean, not super high. I would say like just in regards to the idea of a guard presence or like what Clax's role could be. When you came up with your good friend Puddles, the entourage that Puddles had were both sort of the servant nature and perhaps the like private security nature.
For him, correct.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
you
so
indicated that.
Yeah, and so it's sort of, but they were armed, is what I meant to say. Like they weren't just sort of like positioning themselves between the two of you. They had swords and whatnot.
Alright.
So which could mean that it could indicate to you that there's some welcome in having for noteworthy attendees to be armed or to have armed friends nearby.
Cool. We'll stick with the axe then.
Okay.
Um.
So what are you thinking of doing? Because these runes have been pretty awesome. Like,
So I think I'm just gonna make it better.
okay.
And maybe if I like figure out the like what I did to it before and how to make that better, like when I make level 10, I'll change it back. But for now, I'll work on the axe and changing it around a little bit, and trying to make the runes and stuff on it maybe a little bit more elaborate, make it look a little fancier for this sort of event, polish it a bit, and make it a radiant weapon. So it is still +1, but while holding it, you can take a bonus action to activate or deactivate bright light in a 30-foot radius, and dim light for an additional 30 feet. And as a reaction, after being hit by an attack, you can expend 1 charge to cause the attacker to be blinded until the end of the attacker's next turn. I will just send it to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I'll code it into your character sheet between now and next session.
Excellent. And thank you. So like, do I see, like, can I play around with this effect like over this downtime, or is this something that I'm
Yeah.
not going to know for right now?
Yeah, I don't know how. Does it just charge back at a long rest? Is that?
It gets 4, or it has a max of 4 charges. It gets a D4 charges at dawn, and the whole like bright light thing you can just turn on and off as much as you want. It's just the like blinding somebody that's got charges.
Hey,
So you probably don't want to overuse it on the off chance that you need those charges for any real situations, but you certainly can like blow 1 charge just to see how it works.
all right.
I like to imagine that what you did is you carved additional sort of circuitry into it, and that when you sort of like lend your power into the weapon, like you probably had to deactivate the power that you had lent it earlier, and you sort of see that power like seeping out of your axe. There's sort of been like a light glow into those circuits that had been carved into it before, but as Flint carves in like sort of additions to that and then throws some of his magic behind it, you see that like now not just the original circuits light up, but that it sort of now extends into the additional circuits that have been carved in.
Hold it up. This is amazing. You're gonna have to teach me how to do this at some point. Like, this is some really cool stuff.
I mean, we could work on it, but took a while to learn. So
How do we dress this up? Like, I could strap this on my back, put my shield over it, clean up the shield as best as possible, like have a cloak underneath that, like a nice, maybe go to this general store, see if we can find a nice cloak, and then
like rhinestones and a hot glue gun.
I wasn't quite going that far. I was thinking just plain black that doesn't have holes and tears and travel worn like what I've been using.
That's fair.
So,
Yeah, I feel like I should maybe pick up like a nice coat or a cloak or something, probably. But
oh yeah, there you go. I like it. I want a cloak and a coat. I want a coat big enough to cover my armor. I don't know if
I
they
was
have
probably going to go
these.
without my armor. I think the armor's going to be a tough one.
Okay.
But
Plus, I don't know how many 6'7" cloaks or coats designed for 6'7" Dragonborn. Because have I seen a Dragonborn since I've been in town?
You haven't really looked, but just sort of passively no.
Yeah, it might be hard to find clothing. So, I think off to the general store, see if we can find any clothing similar to what Drawda and Mouse did.
I
Flint,
Yeah.
I don't want you to speak for you either. I'm just.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you're able to find something that fits. It is sort of more like it's not going to fit over your armor, and it's sort of like, if you're looking for if Clax is looking for a jacket, it's not going to button in the front. It's sort of like you're going to have to rock the open style. So that's just sort of like the trade-off of they. If you went to the Raven's Feather, they might be able to make something for you. But yeah, if you're getting off the rack, this is the best you can get.
Then maybe find a tunic maybe that's nice and clean and in good shape then too.
Yeah.
Alright.
You find what you need. Just mark off, like, I'd say for you, a gold and a half. Flint, probably a gold.
I want a top hat, so
A gold and 2 silver.
I like it.
All right then. So Flint, just to get your idea, I'm going to tunic, jacket, cloak, axe at the side. I'll leave the hand axes and the armor at home or at the hotel.
I think that's reasonable.
Alright.
Shield, I'm not sure about. Shield, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll leave it for now, but I'll tell you, I'm not
Maybe
really.
maybe we keep him in the bag of holding, so we've got him with us.
Will my shield fit in the bag of holding? Let's try.
It's a squeeze. It's like you have to. It's like stuffing a painting into a backpack. It's like it's catching on the edges, but it goes in without any kind of damage.
Now, how do I get it out?
You just think about the shield and grab it.
Are you thinking about the shield?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the shield.
Yes, you find something shield-like. You look in the bag and it's just a black hole, and your arm goes in and you can't see it. But you feel, as soon as you think shield, you just like something metal grips your fingers.
I'll work my shield back out. I'm like, all right, I think that'll work for a game plan for this.
At some point, we should talk about how strict you are about bag of holding going into other pocket dimensions and whatnot. I don't know.
I'm not going to let you create a. What is it, like the?
Whatever, like a portal to the.
Yeah, I'm not.
I had
gonna do
more
that.
thought about it when we went into the tree merchant whose place was in like technically a pocket dimension.
Or
like,
when you went into the rope trick.
Yeah, or yeah, the rope trick.
No,
Like, should this have been a problem? Hopefully not.
No, I do not want. I don't like that concept for bags of holding, so I don't think about it.
And then along those same lines, I would maybe catch Drata sometime. Can I maybe look at your crossbow thingy?
Yeah, be my guest.
Be right back.
Oh, mate. Immediately start carving runes.
What?
I have an idea. And I will make it a repeating shot crossbow with another of my infusions. Which, unfortunately, I believe you've taken crossbow expert, so it gets
Yes.
rid of there's some overlap, but it is at the very least still a +1, and you don't have to have ammo. It makes magic ammo that disappears after it hits a thing.
That's sick as hell.
Imagine, carving some runes around the stock, and maybe the sort of imagine because it's magic ammo, the string is almost faintly glowing or something, and it loads itself magically somehow. It's not quite a laser gun or anything, but it's I figure the string has to be at least sort of faintly glowing and ethereal to a certain extent, and
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, barring the decision to have special ammunition in it that would be outside of the barriers of the crossbow, that you could make it such that you don't even need the string. Like it's just sort of like fires without it. But
I had the thought of like, does this effectively make it the form factor of a gun without needing a string or arms, limbs? I don't know what you call those. I think limbs. But
yeah, but you the enchantment sort of runs up the string and sort of makes it glow so that it's sort of like impermeable to breaking, and in that way it also sort of, those runes then connect to the mechanism that you pull to sort of like pull the arrow back. And as you're sort of testing it out, I imagine, Drada, you find that like every time you pull it, it just sort of automatically clinks into place, and it seems to pause for just a second if you wanted to put special ammunition in it, but if you fired it without doing that, there's just sort of like a flash of really dim light, nothing that would be revealing, but more of a flash of darkness, is that what I would say, like an inky darkness that just sort of appears as it then shoots ammunition that forms into a bolt.
so yeah, you don't have to carry as many arrows. It's a magic weapon, and if you shoot someone, there's not evidence aside from the hole in their chest. But
Drada grins a little too widely. But then it comes down to just be like, thanks. And not sure if he's gonna go in for a hug, but like holds the crossbow close to his chest.
It's like not an important thing, I don't think, but because we've talked about like non-lethal damage with crossbows before, I will say it occurs to me that like if there's no ammunition, there's no arrow that's plugging the hole. So it would be especially hard to non-lethal somebody if you're creating open wounds.
That
can you
feels
make
fair.
aren't like blunted arrows a thing? Isn't that like a
It's a piercing weapon. We're not changing. We're
Just
not changing
bludgeoning damage.
that.
This isn't an actual hunting show.
I was gonna say, I think for like hunting small game, you use blunted arrows. I have no concept of how that works for like a combat scenario with a
If you want to do
normal
1d2 damage with your blunted
Exactly.
arrow, then maybe we'll talk about it.
and I will also make myself a repulsion shield, but that is less RP because it's not for anybody else.
Is that being attached to your existing shield?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Flint gets to work on a variety of infusions. Clax, is there anything like particular that you're doing outside of that time with Flint?
Other than looking up blunted arrows and stuff like that, I was just doing. By the way, the modern day blunted arrows are pretty weird looking. No, I figured day one he actually had a tummy ache from all his pastries he ate that he's probably not used to eating. And then day two was running around with Flint and stuff like, getting his formal wear, for lack of a better term, all set up. Other than that, just take time again, since he's not traveling today, do some katas, get back some shape, feeling very bloated from all the dough and carbs he ate, just try and get back into a routine.
Okay. Well, unless there's anything else,
I would ask if there was a missive sent to the canopy regarding my appearance.
there was not between now and the opening ceremony.
Got it.
Well, let me ask you all, how early do you show up? Like, is this team prompt arrival, or is this team fashionably late?
I would probably. I think I would go if the group wanted to do something else. I think I would stick to my plan since I am the champion of the guy who's hosting the entire thing at his bar. I feel like I should be there early just to greet guests as they come in. I feel like that's kind of like maybe the proper thing to do, especially for the clientele that are going to be coming. So I would like to arrive early and maybe help Avindir like set everything up, like last minute things, and obviously in the nice outfit that I have.
Yeah, and you've picked up your hat, and it's everything you wanted it to be as well.
Actually, saving the hat for the performance.
Okay.
So
you just have it tucked away.
I have it tucked away in my room.
Okay. Is everybody else coming with Aesop right away, or?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay.
And I
Follow
will-
his lead.
More
I
for
will-
flavor. There, go for it.
Nope. Go right ahead, Drada.
More for flavor than anything, I do think that Drada will make everyone 5 minutes late putting themselves together.
And I
Then
am
feels-
just steering you as you take your very sweet time getting yourself together.
And in response, Drada will just go, "I look great," and then move on.
Just when we get there, just knowing that this Lord, Dark Draft, might be in attendance, I will just keep a distance from the group. Just keep an eye on everything and everything else, but just purposely kind of keep a little bit of distance, especially from Aesop. I want to make sure that I don't draw any correlations or anything like that. So I'll just be kind of hanging around, checking on things, hanging in the back, but not up front with the group for as long as possible.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you guys are looking to arrive early,
Mhm.
So that might not be an issue to start.
Fair enough.
You all arrive, and the sort of atmosphere has changed in that like everything is set up, and there's now the hustle and bustle of like food being prepared, silverware being brought out, sort of like food being prepared in a back room, but people are sort of out into the open space and sort of like lighting candles. You hear the cleaning of glasses and the sort of like the nature of like a place that's ready to go. This is sort of like the very finishing touches, and just the individuals that Avindir has employed for this are all just sort of like really busy, and you see him kind of like behind the bar, sort of just polishing. He's sort of like going over the details. He's sort of like checking very particular, make sure that this is set up, make sure that that's set up. You do see that there's somebody sort of at the. Let me actually just bring you guys over here in a moment. There's somebody who is at the front. As you all arrive, you are sort of greeted by the woman who Avindir was talking to briefly earlier, kind of going over paperwork, and she looks up at you sort of in a little bit of recognition and says, well, you're early, so I don't suppose I need to announce you.
That's okay.
Well, I suppose just make yourselves at home. I think people start arriving in the next 20 minutes or so.
Is there anything that we can help with? Anything that needs to be put away, put out?
She make a persuasion check. It's not a lack of trust persuasion check. It's more just like it's something else. Okay. She says, "That's very generous. You're already. Are you sure you don't want to like just get comfortable? We have everything taken care of."
Yeah, we were just, arrive early, see if you guys need anything. You guys have been a lot of help for us since we arrived, so just wanted to see if we could offer up our services as much as we can.
She kind of looks back at Avindir, who's sort of like taking a recognition to you and just giving you the wave, and then you actually hear Avindir shout and say, "Make sure that he meets Aurelia."
Really?
And then she says,
Yes.
she says, "Oh, of course," and she'll sort of indicate specifically to Aesop. She's not stopping anybody from following, but she sort of indicates to Aesop and says, "For your performance tomorrow, there just may be some coordination that you want to go over with her."
Oh, yes. Is she here now? May I go introduce myself?
Yes, I think she's in the back. I can take you.
Okay.
Who would like to go with Aesop? I mean, you're sort of like getting the impression that this is Aesop's meeting, but that you're not being stopped.
I would just go to our table.
Okay. Yeah, feel free to walk around if you want to take a look at the space. You all, and I'll check in with the rest of you here soon. But, oops, did I hide her? Oh, yes, sorry. You sort of see a woman behind a desk with whose art I will share in a moment. Who seems to be kind of going over sort of like music sheets or something of that nature. An older Air Genasi woman who's sort of like dressed to the nines. She is like ready to go. But she's like a little bit sort of like quiet and solemn. And as the door sort of opens and you're sort of standing behind her almost, the person who greeted you says, "Aurelia, I have Aesop Trin of the Left Stars here to meet with you." And she sort of like puts down a pen and sort of like swivels a chair to sort of turn towards you. She has that sort of look of a like more senior woman who is really taking care of herself very well and kind of has a grace to how she carries herself. And she sort of like reaches out a hand, reaches out to take your hand.
I grab it, or yeah.
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 It's one of those. It's one of those
Yes.
like underhand,
I'm like,
overhand.
Yeah.
And she raises. Well, she raises. It's sort of like you're getting the vibe that it's like this is like a kiss the ring sort of situation.
So is her hand on top, or is her hand?
Hers
like
is on top. Yes. Yeah,
okay, so I will kiss her hand then, and do a little like curtsy bow. Like, it's so lovely to meet you, Aesop Tern, champion for Avindir for this year's tournament.
Yes, I've heard of you. Pleased to meet you as well. And she sort of like waves, and the woman who greeted you sort of steps out, opens the room, and comes back out into the main area, and says, "I am Aurelia. I am performing for this event. I'm happy to support you in your efforts tomorrow."
What kind of information could I provide to help you?
Well, it's a matter of style. I don't know what you have planned, but if there's a specific tone that you're going for,
There is actually. Oh, sorry to interrupt you. I'm just opening ceremony.
I
nerves.
understand. Yes, it's very common. I've done it myself.
Oh, and how'd you like everything?
It went very well for me.
Oh, well, congrats. For my performance tomorrow. It's tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
For my performance tomorrow, it's going to be themed around mysteries and traveling into the unknown. So maybe not like a somber melody, but more slow and mystical, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
I believe so. I can follow your lead and harmonize,
a-
I'm sure.
As I'm performing, I do, so it doesn't catch you off guard, I will be creating some like illusionary magic along with it, just
So
to
you-
go with the performance.
So you won't be needing any support in that regard?
Oh, didn't know I could have support in that regard.
Well, there are a number of options, and it's also something that I offer to each competitor, to be clear. I can weave into the song either sort of an illusory performance to offer a better sense of immersion for the crowd. I can provide a melody that would just sort of offer a general support to help you if you are feeling any sort of lack of confidence. I could weave in protections if there are sometimes hecklers. It's very low key that people are quickly escorted out if they get too carried away, but it's just the nature of things.
Right. Competition, of course.
But if you are planning to use your own magic, then I could rebuff anything that comes towards you.
That would be great.
And then the last option is if there's an element of truth to your story, then I could provide validation that the audience would know that your story is true, and that may help with your reputation.
Doesn't have to be all true, does it?
It doesn't, but the magic that I provide would indicate how truthful you are in each moment. It is not, to be clear, it is not taboo in our profession, to weave a story that is grander than it needs to be. It is, but if you wish for an honest or heartfelt moment and wish for people to see it as total truth, and it is, then it's appropriate for something like that.
Well, though I did not know these services or these options were available, to be honest.
You can think about it and let me know before the competition or before your performance begins, if you'd like.
For context, I'm going to be kind of talking about my during a specific period of my life where I was just on my own. And like I kind of mentioned earlier, not all of it is going to be true.
To be clear, choosing another option does not mean that people will think you're lying.
Right.
And there will be many untrue stories told tomorrow.
I can imagine. If you could help with the validation, just kind of give it that lasting impact on people, and providing wonderfully great music, which I'm sure you can, that would be great.
So the Song of Truth, then?
Yes.
Okay. Let me know if you change your mind.
What is there would you like, if I do decide to change my mind, when would you like to last know about it?
I will have everything. So you've seen the stage. I will be right behind you as you perform.
Right.
Just tell me before you begin.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. You've helped me calm down a little bit, shockingly enough, knowing that there's someone behind me that's supporting me. So that makes me feel a lot better.
Of course, I should, just to be clear, I'm supporting every performer, but
Right.
yes, we do try to make it a healthy environment.
That's appreciated. I guess I did consider, but not like to the extent that there might be hecklers. So that's just something I'm going to have to think about.
It's usually playful.
Usually.
Yeah, I've done this for a number of years, and people who have been less playful have not been invited back.
Right. Well, thank you for your time. I will be back if I have any changes or updates in terms of what kind of magics you could provide for my performance. But just once again, thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing you play.
Very well. Thank you.
And I'll grab her hand again and do a little bow and leave.
During that time, is there anything that people would be doing outside? Sort of
This
settling
isn't
in?
so much in game, but in Foundry, I got Drada's icon stuck.
Oh, okay.
There's went outside. It was a mistake.
I got you. Oh, nice. Wow, that's very talented. I'm gonna delete you and bring you back. My Foundry also happened to crash during that conversation, so just bringing everything back. But does anybody want to do anything else?
I would mostly just be people watching as people start to enter and sort of playing a game where she creates stories about each person as they come in, not expecting them to be true.
I would 100% also be people watching and be joining you in this game, creating some really dramatic family narratives. There's lots of divorced couples that have never met each other in real life in actuality, but like the drama is spicy.
I'm revealing tokens on the map, just sort of like to create what will be the scene as it fills up. It is a little bit more incremental than this, though they are sort of coming in waves, and it tends to be particular groups that are being announced. You hear, not going over all of them immediately, but just sort of giving you a indication of a few people. You hear at one point the person in the, and I don't have icons for everybody just yet. So right now this is just sort of like a crowd of people coming in, and you can't really like tell who's who. But you hear welcoming the mayor of Horizon, Bally Brightbeard. Sorry, that was a DM misread.
What was the name? What?
Bally Brightbeard. Oh, apparently the commoner said that out loud. You hear, and this is a dwarf with sort of darker features and sort of like curly black hair and green eyes that sort of seems to come in with a sort of small retinue of other dwarves. They kind of actually have a look of like a family unit, more so. You hear the mayor of Skyhelm, Ellen Trugust, and you see a woman who sort of has like half elven features and sort of lighter skin, wavy hair. That why do the commoners keep announcing themselves?
Really excited.
Foundry is a thing sometimes. Somebody that they seem a little bit more out of place actually in their dress. They sort of have more like ornamental. I want to like compare it to sort of like Asian robes almost, and they're sort of like very lithe in that way. And these individuals who are just sort of coming in and taking tables, there's it sort of is filling up, and as the crowd becomes louder and as more people are coming, you're finding it harder and harder to hear the announcements. And so it sounds like there's a variety of like minor lords and ladies or mayors or people who are just sort of like being announced, but that it's hard to pick out every single one. But sort of like as this is all happening, is there anything that you guys are up to?
Yes. So I'm assuming I'm back at the table now, and I kind of like look at Clax. I'm just kind of like giving the hand gestures to come over to the table. And I'm like, okay, so important information I feel like I should share. There have been hecklers in the past events of the tournament where they have tried to disrupt the performance, and the worse they were, the worse the consequences were for them afterwards. However, it's still a thing. And I'm not manifesting this person to show up at all. I just have a gut feeling that they are going to be here.
Announcing Iglis Ferraria and Glasses Ferraria. Two names that you don't particularly recognize, but as you look over, you see a pair of white-skinned tieflings that are sort of older in age. That sort of like have, and they're just coming in together, just the two of them, and they're sort of like looking a little high and mighty, and like sort of like snub nosing the room and trying to find their seat. You have not met these two people, but you understand the relation, and the rest of you here, of the Ferraria trading family, owner of the largest fleet of airships in all of Ventus.
Great. So,
How do you
should
spell
have
those names?
I'll send it to you.
Hey,
Shouldn't have
I think those
manifested.
are white tieflings.
Yeah, yeah.
They seem like they have really great vibes.
The
Great
most
vibes.
wonderful vibes in the world. Yep.
Mhm.
Well, like parents like daughter. I personally don't know these two. However, they spawn, no pun intended, the devil herself. Very convenient conversation. I would watch out for those two. I don't know how much the parents know about me, but especially if the daughter is going to be here, which she looks exactly like them and has the same personality as them, really just rude and nasty in general, I would keep an eye on them. Unfortunately, they do come from a line of money, wealth, and power. So, of course, there'll be consequences if anything were to happen. Just me and the daughter don't go... We go far back, but we don't have good relations.
Just to like blast them, or?
Well, no, the parents haven't done anything that I'm aware of yet, as besides raise a really hideous child. It's just more the daughter, my concern. I don't know how petty the parents can be, but the daughter is the main concern.
Making sure.
You know, the what is it? The fish rots from the head. Like transfer that on a family tree, I guess.
And you guys can see, because we're all at the same table together, my tone and my voice have shifted to that of seething anger. Anger and hatred at the name.
I'm trying to add names to these like pawns as they enter, and you do clock that they seem to be sitting at this table over here.
We seen
Puddles.
Benedict.
Yeah, Benedict and his retinue. You didn't hear them being announced over the sound of everything, but they seem to be at this table over here.
I'm not quite sure how I've done it, but I suddenly made myself lose visibility of the inside. I just see the roof.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, you have to select your token, but I hear what you're saying. I'll fix that.
Ah, okay. I fixed it.
Yeah, just click drag over
Some-
the building and you'll select your token.
Is unfortunately not working for me. Oh, there we go. Got it. Shouldn't have manifested anything, but yeah, here we are. Cool.
Did Benedict get any sort of super special announcement?
Just Lord of the Pond is all you heard.
I think we already rolled this. None of us have heard of the pond or what that means, right?
ASAP rolled it in relation to consonants, but if one other person wants to roll it, who's more, I would say, of the worldly variety, I would actually say Flint. You might be, just when I think about it, you might be the history check for me. Sure. I mean, the pond is a city that is south of Flamebridge and north of the southernmost. Like it's 3/4 down on the world map. It's around a great body of water that could functionally be a pond.
Like writing stuff down on my book, basically like the burn book style. Like this person just not happy right now.
I think not that Drada, I think, is ever a particularly comforting figure. Or do they have any skills or abilities to help in this case? But like, I think they would kind of walk up to you and just be like, "You need anything right now?"
Just support. I'm worried that she'll pull something, because it wouldn't be the first time that she's done it. That's what I'm stressed and now angry by, that they even allow someone like her here. But I can probably imagine why she is here. Just the support.
Over you guys talking, you hear another announcement. Introducing young Destin Oren, future hero from the Source Institute. And you see this like 15-year-old kid come in, sort of like with a sort of like not a retinue so much as maybe like instructors, like teachers perhaps. And this is a young like human teenager, and you continue to hear the announcement. One of the contestants for the Tournament of Tales. And the kid, and functionally a kid, I mean, he sort of like post-puberty, he has kind of a shy look about him, like he's probably a little intimidated to be in this environment, but they do sort of like get a a low applause from everywhere. You actually see Lord Darkdraft as sort of like being a little bit more loud with the cheering. He's just sort of doing like that loud palm clap where you're like trying to make a loud clap. Yeah. And there's just like there seems to be like a recognition from that table, and you do see that Destin and his what seems to be like two other human instructors, one man and one woman, are sort of like over here near the stage.
From where again did you say?
The Source Institute.
Source Institute. Okay.
You could roll me a history check as sort of a college type.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question. History, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like this is just like Tournament of Tales is like lore drop time, like trying to throw NPCs at you in places.
Well, big lore drop for me, for sure.
The Source Institute is functionally it is a school that specializes in magic. So it's sort of like the training that you had in the in Titlefall University. It was sort of like that's like a humanities college, and it was sort of like that is like a extracurricular thing. The Source Institute is sort of a place where like prodigies with magical talent are sort of sent to hone those skills. And you know it to be, and perhaps this is related to Lord Darkdraft, is you know it to be somewhere in the southern duchy of Ventus. You don't know exactly where within 18. So it's sort of like the local that Lord Darkdraft perhaps is favoring.
I look at everyone, I'm like, should I just like leave and come back in just so like people know who I am? Is that like a weird thing to do?
Well, since no one has heard you be introduced, I don't think it's a problem. Like if you'd come in early and there's like 10 people and then you went back out and came back in, that might be a problem. But
Yeah.
I think since there was literally no one here and you were not technically introduced.
Would-
I don't know though. If you were a less noticeable person, that might be true. But I feel like maybe you kind of stand out in a crowd,
Mhm.
and people may have noticed you and would see you leave and come back in, which might feel weird.
So, like, let your words and your performance speak for itself.
This is true.
You are very good at what you do, and people will remember you for what you do, not for someone saying your name when you walk inside a door.
And I'm guessing they're going to call all the contestants up front as part of the opening ceremony anyway.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thank you. I just sit back down and hear the rest of the names being called out.
Sure. Is there anything in particular you guys are doing, or are you just sort of like I'm not suggesting that you have to meet and mingle, but I'm just asking is sort of like you're settling in, waiting for something to happen. That's the vibe I'm getting?
I would actually go up and introduce myself to Justin.
Destin.
Destin. Definitely did not get that name correctly.
Yeah, it's fine.
Avindir told me what his name was.
Yeah. I have to select a token apparently. Otherwise, I see the roof as well. So
I'll walk up if anyone. I'll let everyone know what I'm doing if anyone wants to come with.
No, especially since people are here now, I'm just gonna kind of stay behind, hold down the fort.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know that Lord Darkdraft is here, so you might not
Yep.
be at the table. I'm just gonna drag you somewhere. But Aesop, you head on over, and it seems that this table is pretty quiet. You walk past Lord Darkdraft, who has no idea who you are. But you come up to Destin, who sort of just shyly looks up at you and says, "Yes."
Hi. I kind of like lower myself, get on my knees. I'll probably be at the same height he is, sitting down. I'm like, I'm Aesop. I'm also a competitor here for the Tournament of Tales. I just came a little early, so you guys weren't able to hear. It's nice to meet you, though.
Oh, uh, nice to meet you too. And he sort of goes in for an awkward handshake.
Like that awkward handshake hug. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. I've been through too many of those.
Have you done this before?
No, I was actually shocked that someone wanted to sponsor me. But no, this is my first time. I'm gonna assume that it is yours as well.
Yeah, and I don't know what I'm doing.
You're not the only one. Eventually you'll have a conversation with the pianist for the tournament. Her name's Aurelia. Lovely lady. You'll love her. I would say, kind of just like helping you, she definitely brings everything together in a more clear light about the tournament. And then probably after tonight, it will do the same. So I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Oh, thank you. What are you planning anything?
I have a few things up my sleeve. I don't know if it's right to talk about it before the performance, make it a surprise, but I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone has in store.
He sort of like nods awkwardly in that like he doesn't really know what to say and says, "It was good meeting you. Good luck."
Thank you. Right leg. And I'll walk off.
Moments pass and you see that he actually like comes up to the bar and is like, you probably hear just out of earshot that he's asking to see Aurelia.
Yep.
And he's eventually led back. Anybody else doing anything? A few more.
I am scanning the crowd for anyone who is looking, even before things get started, a little rowdy, just to get a sense of where some hecklers may be. Maybe
Dark
lurking.
Draft is sitting right there.
You can roll I would say an insight check for that sort of thing.
E2.
Right now, the aura you get isn't that anybody is like. There's an. What you're sort of getting is that right now, that's not the game people are playing. People are sort of greeting each other. There is some meeting and mingling of sort of like lords who maybe haven't seen each other for a long time, and it's sort of like catch-up hour among acquaintances that sort of like have perhaps been to this event before. There's actually not a lot of people eyeing the competitors at all. The two that are here so far. There's, and you kind of think back to what Avindir said is like, this is sort of like people come here for both, like, it's not necessarily that the tournament is the biggest thing for some people. There's like investors here, or there's like business happening. And that's sort of what you're getting is that the people who showed up early are sort of like scanning the room for that sort of opportunity. But you're attuned. I will say, like, you're attuned to like. There's definitely you follow the Ferrerias.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ferrerias, and they're definitely like among the more haughty, sort of like high and mighty people. Dark Draft is giving you some bad vibes. The mayor, the two others that I've talked about, the Ellen Trugust and Bali Brightbeard, they seem to be more friendly in general. Just getting like it's like a vibe check on the room. Avindir is also sort of like meeting with people. He's making the rounds. I mean, he's not actually just standing behind the bar. He's sort of like circulating around, and eventually he'll actually stop by your table, although Clax isn't there at the moment, and just say, "You guys good? Everything?" And at this point, Aesop is back. You guys good? You need anything?
No, just making sure I introduce myself to the other competitors.
Sure. I think that's one of them over there, and he points over the front door. There's another individual, a Goliath woman, like a sort of like gray-skinned woman with sort of like completely bald, and sort of has like a gruffness to her. And then you hear the Barker sort of shout out, "From the city of Dusklight, Heart Crusher." Another one of the participants in the Tournament of Tales, and there's like a light applause in the room. It doesn't sound like there's anybody particularly from that region that is sort of like chanting like Dark Draft was, but there's sort of just like a recognition. And she seems to have come in completely alone, and finds a seat at probably the table next to you guys, actually. In fact, I'm going to delete some of these people because she would have a table to herself for the time being, at least. But you see her just sort of sit down behind you.
I would probably go introduce myself to her. Be like, "Excuse me, I'm just gonna say hi."
Hello.
So, that wasn't okay. Hi, I'm Aesop. I'm another competitor. Just wanted to show face and introduce myself.
She gives a polite sort of like, she goes in for the like full arm
Which is-
handshake.
Right. So I feel like she grabs my arm. I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we're doing this."
Yeah.
So I'm just like, yeah.
And she starts to smile what sounded like otherwise like dim and like a bit more of a glower attitude, and she says, "Good luck. It'll be fun."
I sure hope so. Good luck to you as well. Break a leg.
Several, probably. When I'm done with them.
Done with who?
The audience.
Oh,
I'll break several
okay.
legs by the time I leave.
Well, I look forward to seeing that.
I lean over and just ask, is Heart Crusher a given name or an earned name?
Based on what I just interacted with, probably given.
Trada like scoots a little bit away from the table, like to gesture towards her, and just goes like, "Just overheard a little bit of that conversation. Your vibes impeccable," and then walks back to the table.
What is Clax up to right now? I know you sort of just said you're surveying the room, but I'm
Yeah,
curious
just
if there's
keep
anything in particular.
no, just keep an eye on the room, kind of going back to the old job. Just kind of anything seems suspicious. Dignitaries are here; they're gripping and grinning, fully to be expected. More likely, keeping an eye on entourages that came with them. Is there anybody acting jittery? Anybody nervous? Anybody doing something they shouldn't be? And again, it's not that I expect anything to happen. It's just I'm here. I'm trying not to draw attention from Bitter Bark or whatever his name was.
Puddles.
Puddles.
I
Yeah,
love the name
Puddles.
Puddles.
So just make sure I'm not really drawing attention with Puddles. But since I'm here, I'm in a corner and I can keep an eye on most of the room, trying to make sure that nothing suspicious seems
So are
to
you
be going on.
patrolling the room, or are you just sitting in the corner?
No, just kind of sitting in the corner. I'm not. I think patrolling, I would look too much like I'm on guard. So just
Okay.
kind of.
I will say at some go ahead and roll perception, but before I talk about the result of that perception, Avindir will come check in with you. And he just says, "You're not sitting with the team."
Nah, I just figured it's better vantage point over here. Kind of just keep an eye on things, make sure nothing gets too rowdy.
You are going to enjoy yourself over the next few days, I hope.
I will enjoy myself as soon as I'm out of this shirt and jacket, to be honest. But yes, I am very much looking forward to the rest of the trip here.
You can wear whatever you want. You'll just stand out.
I'm good, Sir Avindir. It's all good.
Sir is not appropriate. Or it's not necessary.
Not a problem, sir.
I'll be sure to. No, I'm not saying it. He walks away. With a smile on his face, like he's not mad. But with a 13, it's starting to get full. I would say like most of these tables are being filled up. The side tables tend to be more like Lord and Lady or some prominent couple or somebody who managed to get an invite. You're not really sure. Doesn't seem to be any sort of twitchiness. You do it is a pretty civil environment. This is not a rowdy bar. There's actually not really drinks that have even been served yet. And you find that it just based on, you may have nerves, but all of the telltale signs of problems are not present. You may have nerves, just it's the nature of you to be cautious, but there's no visible reason for that. It may be more like paranoia, which is understandable.
No, but again, like I said, it's more just kind of habit, take advantage of it. So,
the fourth contestant is announced. Sorry, I am scrolling past everything. You hear the name, the lady Atiel Cromvale from Amthras, the final competitor of tonight's competition. And it is what seems to be an older elven woman that is accompanied by another elven woman who is sort of seems to be doing the talking. You sort of see the person who's indicated as being Atiel, that sort of people are sort of there's again a kind of lighter applause as she enters, and she kind of does a polite bow, and as she sort of goes to be greeted by a few people that she passes by, it's always the person who's with her that's doing the talking, and that's sort of the immediate sort of thing that you pick up on. They end up taking this far table down past you all.
I think I would go up to them, introduce myself to Lady Atiel, be like, or I think I'd give a bow. I wouldn't go out for a handshake, but I would go for a bow and be like, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Aesop, another competitor in the tournament."
She bows to you and then looks at her companion, who then speaks and says, Atiel warmly greets you, and she sort of looks back at Atiel and then looks again back towards you, and says that she wasn't expecting to see one of your kind at a performance like this.
Oh, yeah. Very rarely to Atiel, very rarely do Minotaurs find a passion outside of the usual suspects. But this is just where I'm meant to be.
She sort of gives a warm bow again, and the other woman speaks and says, "Well, certainly interested to hear what you can bring to the table."
Thank you. Have a wonderful night, y'all. Break a leg. I'll leave.
The room is getting to be full, and you hear what is sort of like a clinking glass, sort of the time for toasts, and you hear Avindir sort of at the front, sort of looking to quiet the room. and he starts by saying, before we begin the festivities, there's one more person to introduce. Of course, we should all give a warm welcome to Aurelia Cloudstone of Cloudstone. And sort of behind the doors there, you see her step out and sort of take her position at the piano and give sort of a warm bow to people. There's actually a kind of like an uproarious applause from everybody in the room, and you kind of get the impression that although you may not know much about her, that the people in the room, a lot of them have probably attended this before and recognize her, and B, she might be a bit of a celebrity among the current company.
With that, I'll probably assume that she probably won. She didn't outright say.
And she sort of sits down and looks at Avindir, and he sort of turns to her and says, "There's something to set the mood, perhaps." And she begins to just play whatever melody is playing on Foundry, we'll say. And is just sort of setting the stage for just like a friendly, warm environment. And you see that next to her is sort of like she sets down a bag that has a jingle on it, and before she starts playing, she'll actually take from the bag a variety of these large gems. She has like an emerald, an amethyst, a sapphire, and a diamond, and this and that. And she'll actually set them down on like a side table. And you see that she'll take a ruby that she has, and on the face of the piano, there seems to be or on the top of the piano, there seems to be a socket that she places the gem into and twists it. And you see that the music notes that she's playing are now sort of visibly floating through the air. It's just, you don't really feel any magic coming towards you from this. It seems to be more of an ambiance thing. But Avindir, she's playing at a volume such that like Avindir can kind of continue. And he just says, "Thank you all for coming. Welcome, of course, to the Tournament of Tales." And there's sort of like a light applause given for that. And he sort of says, "I know that many people here are here for a variety of purposes, but one tradition stands above the rest, and one that I wish to kick this off with, as I do every year." And he sort of like turns to the door in the room that you had talked to Aurelia from, Aesop, and it sort of opens, and you see a number of people coming out with sort of trays of like snifters of brandy. At this moment, you also see that the song Aurelia is playing, that these music notes, they've sort of been collecting, and they all sort of like suddenly shoot out of the room and like fly away into the night sky. Before she just sort of resumes playing, she'll take the gem out and resume playing sort of more normally. Is there anything you guys are doing during this time? I don't want to like have too much exposition because there's like speeches and stuff, you know.
I think I'm just sitting down and enjoying the show.
Okay. Avindir, you find that these glasses are brought to your table as well as everybody's tables. There's enough glasses for everybody who's in the room, and you're sort of told to wait. And as everybody sort of collects their glass, you see a number of people starting to like sniff and assess, like holding it up to a light and like swirling it around. And there seems to be some like very particular people but you all look at it, and this is a kind of like a blue liquid that is sort of glowing almost, and has sort of like a fruity but also highly alcoholic and sort of like tangy sort of scent to it. But of the nature that it's also brandy. So it's sort of like a little bit weird, but perhaps very unique. I don't know how many of your characters actually like drink brandy, you know. But Avindir sort of says, tonight we uncask the 829 vintage of Ayrshire brandy, the youngest new vintage to be released to the market. And I offer you, as I do every year, a sample for as both a show of friendship and in case any of you out there have an interest in purchasing it. And then he sort of like holds up his glass, and you sort of see that everybody else starts to as well. And then he just sort of says cheers, and then everybody starts to sip. I don't know that any of you have exhausted any resource in this moment, but I'll just sort of explain that this brandy, it would restore a spell slot, it would restore a point of exhaustion, it would restore a use of bardic inspiration, it would restore this or that. It's sort of like if there's a charge of a class ability or a charge of anything on your character sheet that that can exhaust itself over the course of a day, a serving of this seems to regenerate that. And in that so if any of you have spent anything today, feel free to do that.
Guys, we should maybe talk to Avindir about purchasing some of this at some point.
Yeah.
This stuff is amazing.
Oh,
This is the first time I've had alcohol in my life, and I get it now. All alcohol as good as this? Like, is this the bar?
No.
Is what,
No.
like-
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to say that it has a taste to it that, like, you could decide if it's pleasing or not, but the sort of feeling of regeneration that it gives you is very comforting. You can tell that you feel rejuvenated by drinking it, like as if affected by magic. And you hear sort of murmurs throughout the crowd as people are sort of admiring this, and there's sort of like small talk about notes of cinnamon and this and that. Avindir continues to say, thanks to the Lady Aurelia, taverns all across Ventus join us tonight in uncasking these, as she has helped to ensure that they are now drinking their casks as well.
Holy shit! We have a whole cask of this with us at one point.
Wild.
Details of dates that this will be auctioned and locations will be sent to each of your houses or homes that we have on record. If you wish to update that, please feel free to see us during the festivities. But he sort of like says, but that's not all we have to drink tonight. And so he sort of circles back, and another round of people come out with, like, you know, wine and champagne and sort of more standard things. And over the next few minutes, there's just sort of like a settling in that people are having. So you are all offered the drink of your choice, and it can be beer. Clax, where are you sitting right now? Like, somebody would have come to hand you a glass, but there's...
I would be trying to wave Clax over.
Yeah, if I'm getting the signal to come join, I'm not going to ignore the
Yeah.
group.
There's sort of like there's almost like a formality between this part, or it's like it's no longer appropriate to maybe stand in the corner. Is the impression you get. But sort of as people have new glasses and sort of like are sort of engaging in more small talk and whatnot, Avindir sort of silences people again and says, tomorrow we will be beginning the Tournament of Tales, but I do have one more announcement to share. For those who have not heard already, I regret to inform you that I will be retiring shortly. There's like sort of shock and murmur throughout the crowd, and he sort of like holds his hand up and says, be assured that there are several more vintages maturing and that will be released steadily over the next few years. However, the Duchess Sina has decided to bestow upon me a lordship in the town of Vind, and I regret that such duties will require that I hand over the reins of the Zephyr Indulgence Brewing Company to the next generation. There is, if two people want to give me an insight check, two people who feel like they feel very strongly that they would want to see people's reactions.
Love.
I can help with this.
Okay. Okay. Both very good. There is both an acceptance among the crowd that it seems like it's set in stone already and that there's nothing they can do about it, but also a bit of like panic and fervor at the idea that like their source of, you get the impression that if some of these people are investors, that a lot of them are worried now about what it means.
Oh, you
Oh.
broke out.
Hang on.
Sorry.
You're back.
Not sure where I cut off, but there's some shock in the crowd about how this will affect the future. They're resigned to the fact that it must be happening, based on what Avindir said. But what does this mean for investing in Ayrshire brandy if Avindir is not at the head of the ship?
When he said the next generation, was there any sign from Avindir or signal of who he's referring to?
He did not sort of like toast in a direction or anything. So you're not quite sure.
All I know is I wish we really would have held on to that cask of brandy now, because with that news, those auctions for this next generation of brandy are going to go through the roof.
Wasn't ours to hold.
I know. I'm just,
Little
kind of out of character. Like Clax wouldn't know anything about this, but I'm just saying, like,
little scary to think about the fact that we were just carrying around something worth probably a great deal.
Not to mention that we didn't know that the cask was magical.
No, I mean, on the one hand, it's like it's very kind of Avindir to trust us, and also I'm so confused as to why he would trust us. But
Next time he asks us to do a delivery, we should maybe ask how much it's worth, just for our own clarity.
Right.
but that feels fair.
I mean, he paid you pretty well. I do want to be
Good.
clear.
Fair.
Pretty well. Does that equate to the value of the cast that we were carrying? Well,
I mean, you don't know, but it was more money than most of you have seen in your life. So
I was gonna say he paid us. Is that no? We didn't get 400 gold a pop. That was 100 gold a piece. For that?
I think it was like 100 gold apiece for two different things, because both the delivery and in the solving Tazar's disappearance. So Avindir
Yeah.
has funded 1,200 gold into this party so far, which is like a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, that to me says that cask was probably worth at least 5 to 10,000. I would guess. But shot in the dark.
And now I wish to share some information about the tournament. And there's sort of like still some dying murmurs in the crowd as things are starting to settle down. But I first would like to invite our competitors to come onto the stage and address the crowd, and feel free to introduce yourselves. Avindir looks towards you, Aesop, immediately, as if asking permission to bring you up first.
Sure.
I slap Aesop on the back and give him guidance.
Thank you.
Of course, I would be a poor host if not to first introduce my champion for the Tournament of Tales, Aesop Trin. And there's sort of like a polite round of applause as you sort of stand up. And he sort of directs you to the stage to sort of like just take center stage.
Good evening, everyone. As my sponsor here has politely mentioned, my name is Aesop Tiern of the Tiern family and consonants. Looking forward to presenting my material, my performance to all of you tonight or tomorrow night. And looking forward to what this competition has to offer. And good luck to all the competitors.
Roll me just a general charisma check.
Oy. All right. Can I
There's no-
use my guidance for this?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I want to be clear. A lot of times during this competition, there's like always the risk of a natural one, but there's no like failing on these rolls. It's sort of like I'm not setting thresholds so much as I'm just sort of like setting the
How well I
temperature.
present.
Yeah.
Right. Is it a D4 for guidance?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
20.
Yeah. There's a warm applause from everybody in the room, and I don't know that your eyes drift in any particular direction. But
I probably try to make eye contact with everyone, just so I'm like feeling more friendly, approachable to people. But I will make eye contact with that particular family. Yes.
yeah, I mean, you look in that direction, and they have a straight face, but they are clapping with everybody else.
All right.
The Avindir kind of allows the other people to introduce themselves. Heart Crusher comes on stage in a very brusque fashion and just says, "I'm Heart Crusher from Dusklight," and then nods and walks off. And there's like, all right, clap,
Rigorous
like
applause.
light clap.
Cat's being very cute.
Yeah, she is.
Oh, precious.
You hear ATL Cromvale be introduced and is brought on stage with the companion who seems to be speaking for her, and says, the lady ATL would like to wish good tidings to everybody here, and mention that should you ever find yourselves in the city of Amthras, that you are certainly welcome to enjoy our hospitality. Which gets like, the same amount of polite applause. It seems like people seem to know who she is, and that there's only a few people who sort of like look confused in the crowd at that offer. And then Destin comes on stage. And he kind of looks he actually doesn't, I would say he actually doesn't come on stage. He just sort of stands up. And Avindir just like lets him go with it, but he just says, hi, I'm glad to be here too. Yeah, you give a clap, and the people around you sort of like follow your lead. And then Avindir speaks up again and says, well, before the reception continues and everybody retires for the night, just to go over the agenda. Tomorrow afternoon, we will be beginning the Battle of the Boasts. The competitors know that they will be coming on stage to tell you a great story about their heroism and how they have helped Ventus achieve the greatness and prosperity that we all know it to have. The judges will be introduced at the beginning of the battle. They are not to be spoken to before or after the competition. They are all remaining impartial. We will also have additional people who are invited. The Battle of the Boasts will be taking places here, and he sort of indicates to sort of some empty seats at the tables as well as the bleachers sort of down at the bottom. And he says there are a number of guests who will be joining us as the actual tournament begins. And so I do ask everybody to please attend and don't do anything like what happened last year. And you hear like some laughter within the crowd, and perhaps an inside joke that nobody says out loud.
I'm like laughing, like ha ha ha. I'm looking at Avindir, and I'm like, "What are you not telling me?"
The following day, all contestants are invited to Hyperia Theater in the evening to participate in the Battle of the Scenario. But that morning, you will be asked to register for the competition, so that should you wish to bring any companions, or if any of the performers would like to team up, that they would be welcome to do so. Avindir sort of looks at your table in general and nods, sort of reaffirming what he said earlier, that round 2 is potentially a group activity.
I look over to y'all and I just smile. I'm like,
one of the judges will be present in the Rising Melody that morning to take your registrations. The scenario in question, well, that will be a surprise. As for the evening of the second day, we will all come back and convene at the Rising Melody for a evening reception at which the 2 finalists will be announced, and details for day 3 will be shared at that time. Day 3 will take place here, so if anybody misses the reception, please do come back here on the morning of the 3rd day. Immediately following the competition, we will present the rewards to the competitors. First place receives, of course, as always, a cask of the Ayrshire brandy from the newest released vintage, as well as a champion's pendant for the winner of the competition. There's sort of like applause at that notion, and somebody roll me a perception check from just at the table. Somebody who hasn't rolled yet, we'll say.
I don't think I rolled.
Okay. You hear the table next to you. Somebody just sort of says, I think, somebody else who must be new here, they say, I think that's the first cask that anybody will own, right? And then somebody else at the table says, yeah, we should get that. There's no competitors at that table, so you don't really know how they plan to quote unquote get it. But the implication is that like this is the one cask that's being given away outside of auction. And then, of course, for the winners, the following day, there will be a visitor coming from the castle, from Consonance, and they will, as every champion has been offered in the past, be offered a heroic quest that they could choose to go on should they wish to prove their skills to the country. And that will take place during the closing party that will be given in honor of the winning contender.
I'm sorry. Just I want to make sure I got that clarified. The quest is given to everyone or just the winner?
The winner.
Got it.
And there's sort of like the winding down of Avindir's speech is happening, and he looks up and says, "I think that is it. Please enjoy yourselves. Don't drink too much, and looking forward to seeing everybody back here tomorrow." And then there's just sort of like light applause from everybody, and you get the impression that it's just going into like the rest of this opening ceremony's like reception. That was a shitload of exposition for me as a DM. I'm sorry if like you guys have just been getting read to.
Nope.
Absolutely great. Like
Yeah.
My notes are in
mouse is showing.
Happy to clarify
same.
any of those notes if you'd like, but that might be a good stopping point. 'Cause go ahead.
Is day one Battle of the Boasts? Is that a morning activity or an evening activity?
Afternoon.
Yeah, Battle of the Boasts is in the afternoon.
Got it.
Yeah, day one is afternoon in the Rising Melody. Day two is morning registration and afternoon performance at the Horizon Theater. And day three is a morning performance at the Rising Melody. And sorry, I actually have my notes wrong. The day two would be in the evening because they have the lights set up at the theater. I'll type this out and send it to you guys.
You're good.
Guys, we should figure out how to win this.
But we will save that for next session, which I believe is not next week, unfortunately. It is 2 weeks from today. Is everybody good for the 17th?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. And then we will thrust ourselves straight into the actual tournament itself, and we'll get to hear
wild.
what Aesop has planned.
Ugh. Ugh. I'm like rethinking everything now.
All right. Well, I'm sure you'll be great. Everything's great.
Aw.
But thanks for playing.
Yeah, thanks for another amazing game.